seat, Nevin Conrad is the incumbent and faces challengers Melvin Newsom and Jim Underwood. The top two vote getters of the three candidates will advance to the November 5th general election. The at-large council seat is a 4-year term. The polls open tomorrow at 7 a.m. and will remain open until 8 p.m. There are changes in 2 of the polling locations this year. Those that used to vote at Phil Haver Elementary School will now vote at First Congregational United Church of Christ at 1611 Williams Drive. Those that used to vote at Trinity United Methodist Church will now vote at Duncombe Elementary School at 1620 6th Avenue North. The 38th Annual Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Chili Cook-Off will be this Sunday, October 13th, at the Fort Museum and Frontier Village here in Fort Dodge. The event will begin that morning at 7 a.m. when the contestants select their spot and set up. The public tasting portion of the event will begin at 1 p.m. There will be an award ceremony at 4 p.m. with first, second, and third place trophies awarded, along with the People's Choice Award and the Wayne Goodenough Award for Best Showmanship. Those interested in entering the Chili Cook-Off can find the entry form on the Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Facebook page or by calling 515-570-6162. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell in their homecoming game Saturday, 43-27 to 12th-ranked Garden City, Kansas. For the Tritons, it was their first home loss in the last 6. The Tritons now are 3-4 on the season. In high school football from Friday night, St. Edmund fell to Sioux Central 37-18. Gales quarterback Drew Schaefer would have the second-best passing game in program history, going 14 of 25 for 242 yards and a score. Gales coach Matt Dillon said he was proud of his team's effort.
To give my guys credit, we played tremendously hard. Pleased with the effort, very pleased with the intensity that we came out with.
The Fort Dodge Dodgers fell on the road to Des Moines Roosevelt 16-14. The Dodger offense with 5 turnovers in the game. Fort Dodge is now 4-2 on the season, having lost their last 2 in a row, both of those district games. But Coach Matt Miller's message for his team is there's a lot left to play for.
We're not done yet. The best thing is, here's the deal, we're a 4-2 football team. We're probably 5 plays away from being a 6-0 football team, and we've been competitive in everything we've done.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High temperatures working up to around 67 degrees for this afternoon with mostly sunny skies. Then for tonight, mostly clear skies, a low of 45. For the day on Tuesday, becoming windy, winds increasing from the south at 15 to 25, upper 60s for highs. And for Wednesday, sunny and breezy with a high reaching 68. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Carroll. Right now it's 68.
More choices, more money. That's the advantage of the new Bayer Plus Rewards. Choose from our broad portfolio of high-performance products. Earn more money on the eligible products that are right for your farm. And best of all, use our new portal to see your purchases, track your rewards, and decide how you want to use them. That's how we're putting more control in your hands. That's the plus. Sign in and earn big with Bayer Plus Rewards. Visit mybayerplus.com to sign up today. See program terms and conditions for full details.
Now, we've all heard this way too often.
Buy a car, but you must act now, because these deals won't last long.
If you're like me, when it comes to making a big purchase like buying a car, you don't want someone yelling a lot and pressuring you into getting something you can't afford. So I did my research.
For your next used vehicle, do your research and then head to Humboldt Motor Sales. The atmosphere is relaxing and they'll help you find the pre-owned vehicle of your dreams. So when people ask where you got your ride, the answer is simple. Humboldt Motor Sales or online at HumboldtGM.com.
Staples gives your business more for less.
It's where I get more peace of mind knowing my ink is in stock. It's where I get more done with my day because I'm in and out fast. And where I get more savings since it's always low priced.
And right now at Staples, all HP ink cartridges are buy one, get one 30% off. Plus, get free overnight delivery on HP ink at staples.com. Staples, for all your business essentials and beyond.
Ends 10/12/19. Restrictions apply. Free delivery excludes holidays and weekends. Order by 5 p.m. See store or staples.com/ink savings for details.
Connect
to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice before Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. I don't know if I'm the mayor of Manville today or not. I think I'm taking a day off from being the mayor of Manville. I think I've taken a couple of days off, mainly because of the death of Pastor Al Henderson, which is still under my skin. Joining me now is Pastor Austin Hill of the First Presbyterian Church. How are you, Pastor?
I'm doing well.
Well, all right. You were kind enough to come in here on Thursday.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
The day after we found out the horrific news that Pastor Henderson not only had died, but he'd been murdered, for God's sake, on the church grounds. That just doesn't happen here, does it?
No, I mean, hopefully it wouldn't happen anywhere.
Yeah, well, I guess when we're out here in the corn in a little town, we think that's something that's horrible that happens in Chicago or New York or wherever. But obviously, we're not immune from that particular disease.
Yeah.
What was the impact on you as a minister? Maybe I'm sure you've talked with other ministers.
Sure. Well, I mean, there are so many different places to go with it. I heard the news when I was driving home on Wednesday night. A church member called and... as a pastor that when you get phone calls from church members in the evening, especially after maybe 6 or 7 o'clock, they're never good. They're never good phone calls.
No.
And so, I mean, I was literally driving my car when I answered it, and I had to pull over. I couldn't. I couldn't listen to the conversation and hear that news while still driving the car. I was floored.
That's the reaction that a lot of people have,
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like a tough guy here, but I get a little bit of hard bark on me. I've seen a lot of things in life.
Mm-hmm.
But that got me.
Yeah.
It really did.
And then just, a sense of powerlessness. I kind of debated for a little bit, not quite sure what a good response was, but after a minute or two, I turned around and I drove back. I had crossed the Carl King Bridge, and I was kind of out past the country club. I turned back around and came into town, and now I don't know a whole lot of people who are members at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, but I figured the least I can do is stop by and see if there's any way I can offer any of my services.
Certainly. Good for you. I'm glad that happened.
So as I was there, I mean, there were a lot of other, rubberneckers, people driving by just to kind of see what was going on. And
Rubberneckers is from what church?
Rubberneckers.
Rubberneckers,
yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's a new theological term.
Yeah, okay.
The first church of Rubberneckers.
Yeah.
People just driving by to see what the deal was. So I got out and I was able to speak with a few people there just for a little while and to offer some support. But even to be honest, even there, I wasn't sure what my presence was doing or not. And I also just thinking about the Lutheran church connections as well, and thinking I didn't want to kind of step into somewhere where I wasn't welcome, or I didn't want to be redundant or something like that. But
I understand, but you want to help too.
Exactly. So that was kind of that balance that I tried to strike. But so I was there just for a little while, and then came home, and listeners might recall that my wife is also a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So Sarah and I were at home, kind of watching the news unfold, really for the rest of the night. And then speaking with other pastors who also we were just in shock, trying to piece together. At first we had heard that he had been shot, and then getting more news after that. So even right there, we thought, well, what is a response we could do? We don't want to we don't want to like tread on other people's roles or anything like that within the faith community. But we also did want to have some kind of response. So at that point, I was kind of thinking, well, maybe there's some kind of way that we in the faith community could have a joint kind of statement or declaration or something along those lines, but wasn't really sure what that might be. Then Kyle Dana, the pastor at Prairie Lakes Church, sent out an email basically to all the local pastors saying, let's get together at Central Perk on Thursday at 3, and let's see if we can come up with some kind of response. If we can put our heads together and think about what we as fellow clergy and as fellow church representatives, what we might be able to do in our community. So there was about 10 or 11 of us, and we gathered on Thursday that afternoon to talk about, first of all, how, to be honest, we as a church haven't had the best track record in the last decade of doing things together, and to kind of own that. I've been here long enough to know that there used to be an interfaith forum and a ministerial association, but both of those have stopped meeting for something like the last 8 years or so. So really there's been no kind of ongoing formal connection between pastors in our community, other than maybe some friends here or there, or people in the same denomination might work together or meet together. The Ickes Youth Center, for example, has brought 7 different churches together. So there have been some of those kinds of things, but nothing really formal. So that was one thing we identified, was that this is a time that we need to come together and we need to have those relationships in place so that when these kinds of awful tragedies happen, we're already mobilized and we're already in partnership with one another. So that was one thing that has come out of this, is that we as pastors are starting a monthly meeting again to basically get together and pray for our community.
To revive the Interfaith Forum, or?
Well, some kind of official gathering. We don't exactly know what shape that will take just yet, but we figured the first step is to get us all together in the same room and to talk about that and to see what it might be moving forward. Now, you might recall, those who can remember when the Interfaith Forum existed, that was not only for clergy, but for anyone who is interested in representing different churches.
I actually went once. One of your predecessors, of course, David Feltman, was a big supporter of the Interfaith Forum. And it went back further. The Interfaith Forum went back quite a while. We used to have a thriving Jewish community here in Fort Dodge. You know that the First Presbyterian Church owns the old synagogue, the old Bethel Synagogue. But Jews were very well represented on the Interfaith Forum.
Yeah.
Dr. The dentist, I can't remember his name. Somebody give me the name of the old Jewish dentist. Dr. Herb Watt was his name. But he was very active in the Jewish community, very well-known guy. And, of course, we had, at one time here in Fort Dodge, we had 5 men's clothing stores, and I believe all of them were owned by Jews.
Wow.
So, yeah, there was several families over at the synagogue, and again, they were a thriving group.
Yeah.
But that has been quite some time ago now.
Yeah, I think it was 2003 that they sold their building.
Yeah, and they were down to very few people by that time.
I think it was maybe 3 families or 3 members or something like that.
Unfortunate. Because they knew how to have fun, that group. And so there were those 2 different groups, because the Interfaith Forum was not only for pastors, but anyone who was interested. And then there's the Ministerial Association. So this is a first step to get something along those lines started again, out of a common concern for our community. And I would hope, and I think I've found even just this last week in conversations, that we as the faith community and the churches representing that we really do care for this community, and we would like the community to know that, but not only to know it, but to see it and experience it, not just in our words. So I'm hopeful that that's one positive change that will actually come out of the tragedy of this last week, is that Pastor Henderson's death will get pastors together again to work on common initiatives. And for example, then another just a follow-up to that that's related is this coming Tuesday. There's a bunch of pastors getting together. We've sent an invitation to Are you talking tomorrow now?
Yeah. I forgot what day of the week it was for a second.
The 8th.
Yes, Tuesday the 8th. Over in the Growth Alliance building downtown. We've got we invited all pastors in the community, and I think we've got about 15 or so who are going to meet together sort of follow up a little bit with what we can do in response to what happened last week, but then also to talk about the issue of food insecurity in our community.
That's huge. That is huge. Dr. Menke, City Councilman Menke,
Yeah.
has worked with Backpack Buddies. As a matter of fact, his sister in Sioux Falls worked with Backpack Buddies.
Huh.
And Menke, and this always confuses me, Menke's actions always clash with the what I think of him as a person.
I don't know him, so I can't comment there.
I'm always faked out by Menke is just a big dink, and here he is doing all these wonderful things. But here, he started the Backpack Buddy program because, well, first he saw a tremendous need. There's a lot of latchkey kids come home, don't have anything to eat. They're hungry.
Yeah.
Until the parents get home, and a lot of them are single parent. And it's and still over 50% of our kids, 52, 53% of our kids that go to school are eligible for free and reduced meals.
I've heard that number is as high as 60%.
Yeah, there's a lot of poverty in Fort Dodge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of poverty. I mean, we can talk all day about our improved economic situation, and that's true. But, man, do we have a lot of poverty in this town.
Yeah. Randy Kuhlman, a member of our church, and he works over.
I know Randy, certainly.
Yeah, with United Way and the Community Foundation. He and I have been having some conversations about some of these issues, along with Andrea Kraushaar at First United Methodist. And as you know, the Lord's Cupboard is housed in the basement of that office building right by the Methodist Church there. So Andrea has a lot of experience with some of these issues as well, and so the three of us have been talking and with others and just talking about some of these needs and concerns like you've mentioned. I think another one of the stats that was pretty fascinating was something like 25% of the children in our community are in households that have an income that would put them at the poverty level.
Oh, without a doubt. I talked about this last week on the air. I drove quite a long way on 3rd Avenue South through our town, and what I saw bothered me. There are obviously property owners, rental people in this town that are letting their property go to hell. And the people live in squalor. Frankly, it's squalor. It's near third world. You can go through Mexico and find little rural towns in Mexico that look better, frankly.
So these are real issues, and
they are real issues.
And what I heard on Thursday when I was in here with other of our community leaders that I would tend to agree with is that these are issues that are not going to get solved next week.
Oh, no.
And they're not issues that are going to get solved by any one person or one group of people in our community. These are issues that require the change of a generation. They're issues that are going to require all of us to come together in humility, maybe to even put some of our own agendas on hold so that we might come together and share resources. So this meeting tomorrow with pastors, I'm very encouraged by because we're talking about these issues. And talking about them in such a way that we are trying to say, what can we, as the faith community, do at this time in a collective way to really have an impact? And I know at the Lord's Cupboard, they're talking about expanding their operations. They're talking about trying to find a way to bring the Lord's Cupboard out of the basement up onto the main level for handicap accessibility and to be able to expand their hours of operation, which is very encouraging. And there have been other conversations going on as well. So as I'm just looking at the response of some of these faith leaders in our community last week and what was already scheduled to be talked about this week, I do see that there's a time where we can actually look to support one another and really come together to have an impact in our community.
Yeah, that's long overdue. Please include me in these.
Sure.
Please include me if you do restart the Interstate Faith Forum. I'd be happy to attend and give whatever assistance I could.
Yeah, well, you and I.
It's time we took a stand against the type of forces and the type of atmosphere that allowed Reverend Henderson to be beat to death.
Certainly, and you and I have spoken before. I think we need to continue the conversation that that we can use the platforms we've been given to host conversations with other people and to create opportunities for working together. And so I continue to try to do that with the resources I've been given as well.
Yeah. So I would call on anyone to rally around here and find a way to help push back on what's happening in our town. Because really, Pastor Henderson's death was really a natural conclusion. It's not even a conclusion, a natural result of the decay, deterioration, the violence, and the craziness that's in our town.
Yeah.
And it gets worse all the time. We have people wandering the streets with it. Well, I'll tell you, 1,000-yard stare, and talking to people who weren't there. And we have the day after Pastor Henderson was killed, we had people, kids, young people shooting guns over by in the state.
Yeah, there was a lockdown or a lockout, I think.
And nobody knows. Well, somebody knows. We have to do something about this no snitching culture. We have to call it for what it is, evil.
Yeah.
If you allow people to shoot up your neighborhood and your town, if you allow people to be killed, you know who did it and you don't come forward, then you deserve condemnation.
Well, and I think a big part of it is working with families, working with kids to change behavior and outcomes in the future. I'm so encouraged by what Charles Clayton has been doing at Athletes for Education and Success.
He has made a heck of a commitment there.
And
he's one man too, you know that?
Yeah, I know. And what challenges me though is as much as I love what he's doing, it's easy for me to praise what he's doing without actually doing anything myself.
That's right.
And I think that's the case for many of us in our community. So I would challenge, and this is a challenge to myself as well, that how could we spend some of our time investing in the lives of these young people and to change the trajectory for the next generation? That will only happen by our involvement, volunteering with other students.
You know, my friend Janice Valentine, she's a great person, a local attorney here.
Sure.
Did she go the first?
Yeah.
Okay. Janice is just terrific. I really do think so. And my estimate of her improved greatly when I saw in the paper a few weeks ago that she was a mentor for a young girl. And had been for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I thought, boy, Janice, you are truly amazing. And that girl's life no doubt has been changed by Janice investing time. She didn't just write a check and walk away or get her picture taken with a child and put it on her advertising brochures or anything. She was very off the grid, low level. I'm mentoring. You know, I'm doing this because it is cosmic justice.
Yeah, and those are things that I'll just quickly name off 3 things right before our break here. But you can do that through the school system, through the school district. They've got mentors that the program where you can mentor kids during the school day, or you could work over at APHIS or at Ickes. You know, those would be afternoon or evening or weekend opportunities that you could work with kids as well. Any one of those 3 would be tremendous opportunities, and I know the people who are involved in all 3 of those, they're always looking for more volunteers. And it's not glamorous work, but that's the kind of stuff that's going to change our society over the next 10, 15, 20 years.
It will, and our society must change.
Yeah.
I really think we're at a turning point. I mean, part of it's still shock from Reverend Henderson.
Yeah.
But the idea that somebody could start shooting up a neighborhood the very next day, have the audacity, have the unmitigated gall, have the remorseless, shameless sense of privilege to do something like that.
Or they could just be, they could be so aloof that they didn't even know what was going on in the community.
They're probably narcissistic sociopaths, and they were, those kind of people are made, I'm prepared to talk a little more strongly. There's you're talking about filling a huge void in our community. The thing that I always said about Pastor Henderson was he was a man who practiced his Christianity.
Yeah.
He actually lived the Christian faith. He acted as he believed God was commanding him. And he had that very real ability and blessing and gift he wouldn't describe it that way. He would just say that he was serving his Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But he had that great, great gift to greet anyone, no matter who they were, in the same warm, loving way. And it was that was Christian. If you call yourself a Christian, you have to look for inspiration somewhere or an example.
Yeah.
Henderson was a definite example.
Mm-hmm.
He really was. I'm not trying to compare you unfavorably to him, by the way.
No, it's fine. And I still, it highlights all the more what an incredible loss his death is to our community.
The only way it means something is if we do something. If it affects us, if his life and death affect us enough to get us off our butt. And by the way, I don't want to hear any more pathetic white people doing a lot of nasal gazing. What am I trying to say?
Navel gazing.
Navel gazing. Thank you, Reverend. There's work to be done, and we need to do it right now. Okay. Pastor Austin Hill is our guest. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
2:31, the news, the obituaries, and Pastor Austin Hill coming up at AM 1400 KVFD.
Don't wanna discuss it. Think it's time for a change. You may get disgusted. Start thinking that I'm strange.
It's coming. Flu season will be here before you know it. Don't let the flu get to you. Go to Daniel Pharmacy now for your flu and pneumonia shots. If you need a prescription filled, remember, Daniel Pharmacy offers you medication services, including medication adherence and synchronization, immunizations, and private consultation. Daniel Pharmacy carries durable medical equipment, including lift chairs, scooters, walkers, and more. Daniel Pharmacy on the corner of 12th and Central Avenue, Fort Dodge. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The primary election for the Fort Dodge City Council will be tomorrow. The primary is for the at-large council seat. Nevin Conrad is the incumbent and faces challengers Melvin Newsom and Jim Underwood. The top two vote getters of the three candidates will advance to the November 5th general election. The at-large council seat is a 4-year term. The polls open tomorrow at 7 a.m. and will remain open until 8 p.m. There are changes in 2 of the polling locations this year. Those that used to vote at Phil Haver Elementary School will now vote at First Congregational United Church of Christ at 1611 Williams Drive. Those that used to vote at Trinity United Methodist Church will now vote at Duncombe Elementary School at 1620 6th Avenue North. The 38th Annual Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Chili Cook-Off will be this Sunday, October 13th, at the Fort Museum in Frontier Village here in Fort Dodge. The event will begin that morning at 7 a.m. when the contestants select their spot and set up. The public tasting portion of the event will begin at 1 p.m. There will be an award ceremony at 4 p.m. with first, second, and third place trophies awarded, along with the People's Choice Award and the Wayne Goodenow Award for Best Showmanship. Those interested in entering the Chili Cook-Off can find the entry form on the Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Facebook page or by calling 515-570-6162. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell in their homecoming game Saturday, 43-27 to 12th-ranked Garden City, Kansas. For the Tritons, it was their first home loss in the last 6. The Tritons now are 3-4 on the season. In high school football from Friday night, St. Edmund fell to Sioux Central 37-18. Gales quarterback Drew Schaefer would have the second best passing game in program history, going 14 of 25 for 242 yards and a score. Gales coach Matt Dillon said he was proud of his team's effort.
To give my guys credit, we played tremendously hard. Pleased with the effort, very pleased with the intensity that we came out with.
The Fort Dodge Dodgers fell on the road to Des Moines Roosevelt 16-14. The Dodger offense with 5 turnovers in the game. Fort Dodge is now 4-2 on the season, having lost their last 2 in a row, both of those district games. But Coach Matt Miller's message for his team is there's a lot left to play for.
We're not done yet. The best thing is, here's the deal, we're a 4-2 football team. We're probably 5 plays away from being a 6-0 football team, and we've been competitive in everything we've done.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge 235. First of all, in the weather, 69 degrees. What a day. What a day. It's going to be clear today with it's going to be just beautiful and sunny. This is our day's high, 69, maybe 70, but I'm thinking we've already reached the day's high. Overnight, clear with a low of 46. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 70. Wednesday, sunny with a high of 68. Going to be a little windy. A little rain Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Thursday morning, we'll have a little rain with a high of 65. Friday, some showers. Cloudy with a high of only 44. Look out. On Saturday, sunny with a high of 45. And Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 48. So, yeah. I don't know if I'll see any of my farm guys this week. I think they're all going to be in the field. 69 degrees, just a perfect day today at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street here in Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Mr. John Moore has passed away at the age of 100. Mr. Moore's service will be Saturday at Corpus Christi Church. Glenda Winters, 76 years old, has passed. There will be a celebration of the life of Glenda Winters on Saturday as well. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 237, 69 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. With a look at the closing farm market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn up 2 1/4 at $3.87. March up 2 cents at $3.99. May up 2 at $4.04 1/2, and July up 2 1/2 at $4.08 1/4. November soybeans down a penny at $9.15 1/4. January down 3/4 at $9.29 1/2. March down a 1/4 penny at $9.40 1/2. May up a 1/4 penny at $9.50 1/4. December wheat down 1 1/4 at $4.89 1/4. Soybean meal down $1.40 a ton at $2.97.40. October live cattle up 90 cents at $1.08 1/4. December up 42 at $111.20. October feeder cattle down 27 cents at $141.70. November down 45 at $140.92. October lean hogs down $1.90 at $60.50. December down the $3 limit at $64 1/4, and February limit down at $71.47. From the Alpha Media Farm Desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
Message and data rates may apply.
Earning your degree from one of the top business schools in the country might sound impossible to fit into your workload. But what if there were a business degree that advanced your career skills and gave you access to world-renowned faculty, leaders, and mentors all on your schedule? One that opened doors to some of the most influential CEOs, tech companies, law firms, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. And what if you could earn that degree in as little as 16 months, 100% online? Find out more. Text DRIVE to 79645. Start on the path to earning your MBA or Business Analytics Master's degree online from the W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University today. Learn more about the graduate programs from the top-ranked W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University, offered 100% online. Text DRIVE to 79645. That's DRIVE to 79645.
Need a new roof? Have you considered that there's very few roofers to choose from, and come September, everyone at once will decide their roof must be completed before winter? The last thing you want is the winter roof that will never seal properly, or an improperly installed roof done by a contractor you may never see again. Don't wait any longer. Call Hahn Roofing today, and in most cases, they can start your project within 2 weeks and finish within 1 or 2 days. Call Hahn Roofing today for your free estimate. 515-573-7440. That's Hahn Roofing, 515-573-7440.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine on a beautiful day here in Fort Dodge with Pastor Austin Hill, the First Presbyterian Church. I don't want to sandbag you or Ann Meyer, but Ann Meyer, Representative Ann Meyer, our friend.
Yeah.
Just love Ann and her husband, Jim, Dr. Meyer. Think they're just the greatest people. Ann will be in the next hour. She was unable to be here last week when I had you and a lot of people in.
Yeah.
To talk about our pain and shock at the death of Reverend Henderson. I will ask Ann about the plan that some Republicans have to gradually transform Medicare. Now, Medicare is a plan that allows people over 65 to receive medical treatment. It was more complete and comprehensive than it is now, but it is still a healthy medical plan, mainly for people who are retired and find it difficult to work any longer. I always thought it was the origins of American liberalism are Christian.
Yeah.
It's a warped concept of liberalism in the 21st century, if you're asking me, as an old Union guy, Irish Catholic. First to build a Social Security program and then to build Medicare were profoundly Christian acts of a very caring, Christian-inspired government.
Yeah.
I still believe that.
Yeah.
I believe it powerfully and passionately. Any attempts to roll it back are something else. They are not being guided by Christian thought. Now, I would say further that private companies like radio stations used to have pension plans. Now we have an opportunity to invest in a 401k. And what I'm told will be the change is a gradual transition away from guaranteed Medicare benefits because we can't afford it to a plan for younger people that will allow them to, yes, ladies and gentlemen, invest in their own plans. So, in other words, Medicare sooner or later would die on the vine, probably sooner than later, because I don't think once they got that change done, that's where it would stop.
Yeah.
No. That is libertarian theology, the idea that we're all going to go it alone and we'll be stronger and tougher as a country. I would say we're not going to be stronger and tougher as a country. I was going to say there's nothing to hold us together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christian faith held us together. Religious faith. A belief in a way of life that we could all accept.
Yeah.
That we were good people because we do good things.
We do the right thing.
This isn't the right thing. This is a moral offense. Now, Tim Kreinberg is one of the greatest guys I ever met. He really is. But he supports Senator Randy Feenstra. And I like Randy Feenstra. His personality is great, but Randy wants to start this dismantling process. And he said, well, there's nothing else we can do because it's unsustainable. I hear that from Governor Reynolds all the time. I said, Randy, you could do something else. You could raise taxes to cover it. Well, we're not going to do that. Well, don't tell me it's unsustainable then. Don't tell. And Jeremy Taylor, who tells us he's a Christian man, I have never met Mr. Taylor. He's a county supervisor in Woodbury County. He's also running for the Republican nomination for the 4th District Congressman, or to be our 4th District Congressperson.
Yeah.
And he also believes, as a Christian man, that the Medicare plan should be changed and apparently eventually dismantled. I would say that is a step off the earth. I really do. I think that is a step off the earth that the country really can't survive.
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot at tension in this, and I said this once on the show, maybe a couple months back. Could be a little just to get some attention or whatnot, but I do think there's something about this, and you hinted at this, that to call some of these social welfare programs that we've put together
socialism.
Yeah,
they're not socialist.
Well,
they're Christian.
Well, but so that's where I was going. Some might call Jesus a socialist.
Glenn Beck had the unmitigated goal to refer to Pope Francis as a Marxist.
Yeah.
Gosh, I would like to meet Glenn Beck so I could punch him in his dumb face.
Well, and so I've pulled up here while you were talking. I was listening, but I pulled up Matthew 25. This is his famous parable that Jesus is giving about the sheep and the goats. And he separates out the sheep and the goats. And he says to the sheep, essentially, come into heaven with me, because when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, something to drink. When I was a stranger, you welcomed me in, etc., etc. And you know how this story goes. The sheep say, well, Lord, when did we see you hungry, thirsty, naked, a stranger, etc.? And Jesus says, whatever you did for the least of these, you did to me. And in that parable, straight out of the words of Jesus, so these are red letters in our Bible, the primary factor in whether one goes to heaven or hell is what they did to the least of these. It's not about what we believe. It's not about what church we went to or what denomination we are a part of. But according to Jesus, in this instance at least, what determines our eternal fate is how we treat the least of these. And I think it's because of passages like that things like Medicare and some of these programs were brought into existence, as you pointed out. Or I'm also reminded of the letter of James that James wrote to the churches that were scattered all across the nations. And he wrote in James chapter 1, I believe in verse 27, he said, religion that's pure and faultless is this, that we look after orphans and widows in their distress. And he goes on from there, but his starting point is that we would care for the orphans and widows among us. And so I think your point is well taken, that these types of programs are Christian in their origin.
Yes, they are.
And what I think is a challenge, especially for the Republican Party, but also a challenge for Christians who are Republicans, is that we have this deep feeling of patriotism, which is great, but embedded in that patriotism is a fear of anything that resembles, communism or socialism.
Monolithic communism.
And so because of that, we're very afraid of anything that sounds remotely close to that. And that's, though, where then we are struggling as Christians.
But there is a difference. See, this is what is such a bunch of nonsense about the socialist communist charge. Communism seeks to dominate.
Yeah.
Seeks to dominate and control even what you wear.
Yeah.
And how you speak. I mean, believe me, I read Darkness at Noon and most of George Orwell's books.
Yeah.
And I absolutely am. I absolutely understand that there is a totalitarian strain in the human consciousness that has gripped China and Russia and other places. I understand that. The giving spirit is something different.
Certainly.
The giving spirit, my Christian heart commands me to help widows and orphans, the sick and the old.
Completely. Now, here's the critique I hear that I would push back against as well, but I do want to name this. What I hear from those I talk to about these kinds of issues is that you cannot compel morality. You cannot compel me to give my dollars in support of other people. Yes, the Christian thing to do is to care for orphans and widows, but you should not compel me. Now, here's what I would argue. Okay, fine. I'll grant you that, maybe, but then is the church actually stepping up and doing that? If we don't want the government to, then we as Christians who do believe in the words of Jesus and who, people might say, well, we don't live in a Christian nation anymore, so the government shouldn't do this.
We certainly don't.
But is the church doing it? And I would say the answer is no, of course not. So if the church isn't doing it, and then if we're saying we don't want the government to do it, then essentially what we are saying as Christians is even though Jesus commands us to do these things, we don't really think it's a big deal.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Well, the Democrats abandoned Christianity, and that's a tragedy. They used to be the standard bearers.
Well, but it's not just the Democrats. I mean, that's where I'm saying Republicans.
You're absolutely correct. This is coming from the Republicans.
But the fear in Republicans, which I understand
the fear in Republicans is their donors don't want to pay for these programs. They have big business, big money donors, and they've been pressuring their representatives and senators to kill these programs simply because they don't like them.
But what I hear from the words of the ordinary everyday Republican that would be in our family or in our friend groups or that we might be ourselves, the fears I hear there are, we can't let the government compel these kinds of things, So go ahead and privatize it, and then let people opt in or whatever else. But I think that is ultimately a fallacy.
I was watching Fox Business, and I said this. I couldn't believe it. I talked about it almost all day the next day. I was watching Fox Business, and Maria Bartiromo, I can't remember. Maria Bartiromo. Yeah, Maria Bartiromo, that was her name. And she is usually a very level-headed person. Mm-hmm. Well, they were talking about the presidential contests and what about Senator Warren, Senator Sanders, these sort of things.
Yeah.
And I believe Senator Sanders said he didn't think we needed to allow billionaires in the United States. Having so many billionaires in the United States perhaps wasn't a good thing. And Maria scoffed at the idea and said, we'd be in big trouble without billionaires. And besides, if we enact legislation aimed at billionaires, they'll all leave the country and go to China and Russia. And I was just flabbergasted. A bunch of capitalist billionaires are going to head off to totalitarian police states?
Well,
I doubt it.
Yeah. Well, but so this is, I think this is, we hear these fears a lot. People say, well, we are a capitalist country, and look at all the good that capitalism has accomplished. But I will say, this is the trouble of the American church that we are dealing with, is that ultimately Jesus is Lord, not capitalism, not even the United States. Jesus is our Lord. And so if there's any kind of system that is not in line with what Jesus commands, it is our responsibility as Christians to put any of those other systems in a subservient role to Jesus as our Lord.
That's right, because capitalism doesn't have a moral component necessarily unless we create one for it.
Sure.
And believe me, I've delved into the theories around capitalism, whether it's a moral system or not, many, many, many times.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that there can be a positive goods coming out of capitalism. But mainly, it's an economic system without a moral code at all.
Exactly. And that's where... So I'm not saying that we can't be capitalists, but I'm saying at the end of the day...
Of course not.
But at the end of the day, our capitalism cannot be our primary drive.
No, it cannot. Thank you very much, Pastor. That is correct. It cannot. We cannot, as Christians, make the capitalist ethos part of our religion. It simply isn't. I hear all the time from people who tell me capitalism is in the Constitution. Well, I'll tell you, I got this from Congressman King. I used to carry around a pocket-sized U.S. Constitution, and I'd hear that. Oh, capitalism's in the Constitution. I'd get out my pocket-sized Constitution. I'd say, where is it? I'd point out in this book, and here's the entire U.S. Constitution in this booklet. You tell me where capitalism is ordered or mandated in this Constitution. Of course, they can't do it because it's not there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I do believe in free markets to an extent, and I believe in freedom.
I am a capitalist, but I acknowledge its flaws.
And this is something that our founders did acknowledge, and this comes back to Christian roots again, but acknowledging the depravity of humanity. And that's why we have a system of checks and balances that we do, because we recognize that we have the potential to amass more and more power. And so unmitigated capitalism, I don't think, is the answer, because then we do just ultimately pursue our own self-interest. And Christ calls us not to do that.
Yes, but who's paying attention to him these days?
Yeah, and so I guess I would say now, of course, we do not live in a theocracy. I understand that as well, but we do live in a system.
Given a choice, sometimes I wonder.
Well, yeah, but we live in a system where we can exercise our choice through our votes and through our influence by the people who we have elected. And so I would say that we should use our ability to understand what Christ calls us to in a way that impacts our voting. And if we don't see people in office that seem to be in line with what we believe our Christian calling is, then we should use our voice and vote for other people.
That's right. And poor Ann's out here listening somewhere going, God, I'm not going there.
Well, I don't know what her stance on this is.
I have a suspicion what her stance is.
We'll hear, I guess, in the next hour.
Yes, we will.
And I guess I will say I don't. I haven't studied what these changes are, and I guess I would go one step further, which is if we believe that Medicare is rooted in our Christian faith and understanding, then I do think we need to look at what are some ways that we can extend that kind of medical care or coverage for others who maybe don't have it now. And I'm not saying we should have Medicare for all necessarily, but I do think what we currently have is pretty restrictive, and there are a lot of people who don't have good access to medical care.
Bernie Sanders is a socialist.
Yeah.
He is a socialist. I personally admire Senator Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
He has been, he was in the 2016 election almost alone in calling out both parties for their failure to provide any opportunity for millions and millions of people, or any safety net for millions and millions of people.
Well,
Hillary Clinton was cruising along with this globalism.
And I guess, and this is a challenge to me, this is a challenge to many others, but I ask the question, how much of a tax increase would we be willing to pay if that meant Medicare for all? How much would, if you were to charge me $10,000 a year, and, and others some proportional amount or something like that, would I be willing to pay that extra increase if that meant that everyone in our country had adequate access to medical care?
Well, that's a rhetorical question directed back at yourself. What is your answer?
Well, I would say, if I had to answer that right now, if you could guarantee that coverage were there, as difficult as that would be, I would be in favor of that. Now, maybe my iPhone, instead of being only 2 years old, I would have to keep it for another few years.
Oh, no!
What
a sacrifice.
But maybe I'd have to mow my lawn.
That's what it boils down to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'll have to wait another year before I get the latest iPhone.
Yeah.
Those damn people.
Maybe I'd have to mow my own lawn instead of paying the neighbor down the street to do it for me.
Terrible.
And there are probably other real things that would be a difference. And I'm saying that I'm being a little tongue in cheek, but at the end of the day, that's really ultimately what it comes down to: is how many of those kind of comforts would I be willing to go without, so that others might actually have some of the things that I completely take for granted because of the amazing health care coverage that I have in my job. And the Christian response to that would be, if you look at the early church in Acts chapter 2, you had people who sold their possessions in order to come up with money for others who were in need.
Sold their possessions to help others.
Yeah.
Wow. Where'd that idea go? Have you run that by some of your parishioners? Because I know some of them.
I haven't said it on a Sunday morning yet, but that's why I like coming here. I can get by with some of those things.
Over there in First Presbyterian, you better stick to the pro-business line. Buddy,
I got to muster up the courage.
Don't start practicing actual Christianity or expecting others to.
I get to test these ideas out here on the air.
Yeah, Well, good. Well, and I just got a text from Ann Meyer that she's here.
Oh, all right.
I don't know if she's sitting out in the waiting area with her ears burning or not. But
I'm not saying anything about her or what she does in reference to my
Ann's
comments.
a good woman. Ann's a good woman. Let me say again, she was all screwed up in that Supreme Court thing, but we got by it. The session's over. Another one will be here, and I guess right after the first of the year.
Yeah.
And away we go again.
Yeah.
It'll always be fun. We're always going to have to hammer out some sort of pay increase and benefit increase for the public employees, especially the teachers. The rest of us can go to hell, I guess. And that's it, huh?
Well, yeah, I'll be curious to see what she says when she comes on.
All right. Well, I'll ask her.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that the Polar Plunge is November 3rd, Sunday at Kennedy Park. That benefits the Special Olympics. And, the police department will be involved in this, I'm sure. Also, LifeWorks. LifeWorks has an event coming up Thursday, November 7th at Fort Frenzy's Cardiff Center. A night for LifeWorks. There's going to be a social hour, cash bar, silent auction dinner, and a show in the style of America's Got Talent. Tickets are $40, and they're available at LifeWork offices, Fort Dodge Hy-Vee, Humboldt Hy-Vee, and at the door. Thank you, Pastor Hill.
My pleasure.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 69 degrees, and you are listening to AM 1400 KVFD and Cannonball Adderley.
From tuning an engine to replacing a fuse, you can learn it all under the hood. Heard every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Bipartisan criticism of the president. Lisa Brady, Fox News. From Congress to the campaign trail.
This is a moment where, yet again, Donald Trump is prepared to betray people, and in this case, people who have stood with us.
Senator and Democratic presidential hopeful Kamala Harris among those criticizing President Trump's decision to pull troops out of northern Syria, where Kurdish forces who lost thousands helping to defeat ISIS say the president is stabbing them in the back, paving the way for a Turkish invasion. The president says he would obliterate Turkey's economy if they do anything he considers to be off limits. As he defends this move, Fox's John Decker is live at the White House.
The president on Twitter explaining his decision to remove all U.S. troops from northern Syria, writing, "I held off this fight for almost 3 years, but it is time for us to get out of these ridiculous, endless wars, many of them tribal, and bring our soldiers home." He continued, "We will fight where it is to our benefit and only fight to win." Fox News has confirmed top Pentagon officials were completely blindsided by the White House order. Senator Lindsey Graham, one of the president's strongest Republican defenders in Congress, blasted the decision, calling it impulsive, short-sighted, and irresponsible. Lisa?
Now, John, Senator Graham's working on a bipartisan bill that would call for sanctions if Turkey invades Syria and suspension from NATO if they attack the Kurds. Another round of trade talks with China set for Thursday in Washington.
The president's got to defend the American economy. He said he'll make a deal, but it's got to be the right deal for America.
But Larry Kudlow, head of the National Economic Council, says the U.S. is open to whatever China proposes, even a possible short-term deal. That seemed to help boost stocks for a while. But at the closing bell, they're down, the Dow dropping 96 points back under 26,500. America is listening. Fox News.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
A blind man's lawsuit against a national restaurant chain will stand.
The president's got to defend the American.
The Supreme Court denied an appeal from Domino's Pizza, leaving in place a lower court ruling in favor of a blind customer. Guillermo Robles sued the pizza chain because he was not able to order food on the Domino's website and mobile app with screen reading software. The case is considered a win for disability advocates who argue requirements for businesses to provide accommodations should apply to apps and websites. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Today is the first day of the High Court's new term. Tomorrow, they hear arguments in one of the most high-profile cases, a fight over whether existing federal civil rights laws protect gay and transgender people from workplace discrimination. A costly tweet for one NBA team as some Chinese businesses sever ties over what an executive wrote.
Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey tweeting support for Hong Kong's pro-democracy protests, posting "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong." His words angering basketball sponsors and media outlets in China, which invests billions in the NBA. The Chinese Basketball Association threatening to suspend all ties with the team. Morey apologizing, the NBA saying in a statement he has made it clear that his tweet does not represent the Rockets or the association. Tensions in Hong Kong and Beijing have gone on for months. Many in mainland China call the protests unpatriotic. Meanwhile, U.S. lawmakers are accusing the NBA of kowtowing to China. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
President Trump speaking at the White House at this hour. He's just about to sign a new trade deal with Japan, which he calls a very strong and groundbreaking achievement. Recapping Wall Street, stocks are lower. The Dow finishes down about 96 points. The S&P and the NASDAQ also slipping. And Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News update, I'm Rob Jones. The primary election for the Fort Dodge City Council will be tomorrow. The primary is for the at-large council seat. Nevin Conrad is the incumbent and faces challengers Melvin Newsom and Jim Underwood. The top two vote getters of the three candidates will advance to the November 5th general election. The at-large council seat is a 4-year term. The polls open tomorrow at 7 a.m. and will remain open until 8 p.m. There are changes in 2 of the polling locations this year. Those that used to vote at Phil Haver Elementary School will now vote at First Congregational United Church of Christ at 1611 Williams Drive. Those that used to vote at Trinity United Methodist Church will now vote at Duncombe Elementary School at 1620 6th Avenue North. The 38th Annual Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Chili Cook-Off will be this Sunday, October 13th, at the Fort Museum in Frontier Village here in Fort Dodge. The event will begin that morning at 7 a.m. when the contestants select their spot and set up. The public tasting portion of the event will begin at 1 p.m. There will be an award ceremony at 4 p.m. with first, second, and third place trophies awarded, along with the People's Choice Award and the Wayne Goodenough Award for Best Showmanship. Those interested in entering the Chili Cook-Off can find the entry form on the Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Facebook page or by calling 515-570-6162. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell in their homecoming game Saturday, 43-27 to 12th-ranked Garden City, Kansas. For the Tritons, it was their first home loss in the last 6. The Tritons now are 3-4 on the season. In high school football from Friday night, St. Edmund fell to Sioux Central 37-18. Gales quarterback Drew Schaefer would have the second-best passing game in program history, going 14 of 25 for 242 yards and a score. Gales coach Matt Dillon said he was proud of his team's effort.
To give my guys credit, we played tremendously hard. Pleased with the effort, very pleased with the intensity that we came out with.
The Fort Dodge Dodgers fell on the road to Des Moines Roosevelt 16-14. The Dodger offense with 5 turnovers in the game. Fort Dodge is now 4-2 on the season, having lost their last 2 in a row, both of those district games. But Coach Matt Miller's message for his team is there's a lot left to play for.
We're not done yet. The best thing is, here's the deal, we're a 4-2 football team. We're probably 5 plays away from being a 6-0 football team, and we've been competitive in everything we've done.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunny skies this afternoon with a high of 68. Southwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level off around 45 tonight. High of 69 tomorrow, clear skies. High of 68 Wednesday under mainly sunny skies. 65 Thursday, chance for scattered rain showers. From the weatherology webinar, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 69.
It's coming. Flu season will be here before you know it. Don't let the flu get to you. Go to Daniel Pharmacy now for your flu and pneumonia shots. If you need a prescription filled, remember, Daniel Pharmacy offers you medication services, including medication adherence and synchronization, immunizations, and private consultation. Daniel Pharmacy carries durable medical equipment, including lift chairs, scooters, walkers, and more. Daniel Pharmacy on the corner of 12th and Central Avenue, Fort Dodge. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Oh, why not just cremate me when I'm gone?
Sounds simple, doesn't it? However, there are many options to consider when cremation is chosen. From simple to detailed, we at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services can help you create a unique commemoration.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Time to start the birdseed.
Watch out for the seagulls! Oh, my head!
Are you okay?
United Healthcare helps connect you to care whenever you need it, like video chatting with a doctor right from your phone.
So I don't need stitches?
Nope, just put some antibiotic cream on it.
Great, thank you, doctor.
United Healthcare. Health plan benefits may vary.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. We're going to tell the truth, make it matter. We're never going to be boring. Live, local, and relevant talk radio. From the corner of 2nd Avenue North and 10th Street, right here in Fort Dodge. Joining us now, of course, is the fabulous Representative Ann Meyer. How are you, Ann?
I'm well. How are you, Mike?
You're well. You look a little tired. You been working too hard, staying up late partying with James, or what have you been doing over there?
That's funny.
Oh, it is, huh?
No, we have not been staying up late partying.
All right. Well, all right.
This morning I was out.
Maybe you ought to. There you do. I think that's the deal. Maybe you ought to stay up late.
I was out of the house early this morning. We had a caucus in Des Moines today. We elected our new leadership, so we all had to, you know, in order to vote, you have to be in attendance. So had a meeting in Des Moines and got back here, and here I am.
You probably caught a little bit of Pastor Hill and I on the air.
I did.
And of course, you and Jim are congregants over at First Presbyterian.
Yes, we are.
And it's a great group of people.
Absolutely.
And, the First Presbyterians are very, very decent people. I've gone to a few other Presbyterian churches, and they're all really good people. There's a Westminster Presbyterian church in Dubuque, and they're just terrific people, and they do a lot of things together, and it's a great community. But I talked in the second segment, and I want to talk about two things with you.
Okay.
Of course, we want to talk about mental health in regard to what happened with Pastor Henderson and criminal justice reform, frankly. Anything to prevent these sort of things from occurring with such frequency as they have in our community. Now, I mean Pastor Henderson. I mean young kids shooting up the neighborhood. I mean the house right next to mine, and I've said this 4 or 5 times this last week, the house next to mine is occupied by a woman in her 50s using a walker. It was shot 3 times about 3 weeks ago. It was hit by gunfire 3 times. Obviously, she wasn't the target, but it was just somebody could have got killed.
Sure,
just
absolutely.
For absolute stupidity.
Yep.
But I did want to talk to you about Senator Feenstra's proposal and Supervisor Jeremy Taylor's proposal, or line of thought, and perhaps Congressman King's as well. By the way, Congressman King will be here at 3 o'clock on Thursday. So if you want to know Congressman King's attitude on Medicare and Social Security, that would be Thursday at 3 o'clock. Pastor Hill and I, first of all, I don't believe Medicare to be socialist. I believe its roots are in Christianity. There is a difference between Christian giving, between obeying God's command to take care of the elderly, the widows and the sick, and socialism. Bernie Sanders is a socialist. Now, others are socialist as well. Socialism compels you to do something, or takes control of, communism especially, takes control of your life. Christianity is voluntary. We obey at our own will, by our own will, the will of God to take care of the sick. That's why I'm in favor of Medicare. If we don't have Medicare and Social Security, I have to ask myself what kind of country we do have. What brings us together? What makes us proud to be Americans other than, well, you could really try hard and maybe win here in America, because that's not much. What makes us proud to be part of this country? Do you have an answer for that, Ann?
Well, I'll go back to Medicare, number one. So, first of all, a lot of some people don't know the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. Medicare,
I do.
I know you do. But just in case people are listening and they don't know, and this is how I always differentiated it way back when I was, newly in medicine, in healthcare.
That long
medicine.
ago, huh?
It was a long time ago.
So I saw you on the Flintstones once. I'm pretty sure. I'm sorry.
I used to watch the Flintstones, though. I will tell you that. So Medicare is for the elderly, people over 65,
right,
and disabled.
Correct.
Okay, so those are.
Would
people,
you consider that a Christian commandment to take care of people over 65, at least medically?
A Christian commandment? I feel like we should take care of everyone who can't take care of themselves.
Okay.
I don't know if 65 is the arbitrary age,
but
I think we should be taking care of our disabled and our elderly.
Certainly.
Without a doubt. I have no intentions of lobbying to privatize Medicare and really, they've already got insurance companies taking care of them. Okay, so the different.
One of the things Pastor Hill and I talked about, you can be a capitalist and support Medicare and Social Security.
Absolutely.
It's an easy transition for me.
I absolutely support Medicare and Social Security. I think what we talked about a couple weeks ago, you had asked me about, I don't know if you asked me about getting rid of it or I can't remember exactly what.
Well, I had spoken with Randy, and I like Randy Feenstra, and Jeremy Taylor. Jeremy Taylor, who I've never met face-to-face, but I've talked with him a couple times in the air, they both told me that they would like to phase out Medicare over the years because it's unsustainable.
Okay. I don't think that we will ever phase out Medicare and being for the elderly and the disabled.
Obviously,
but
there's discussions within the Republican Party to do just that.
I think I don't know that there are discussions to get rid of it. What I'm thinking is the age requirements will increase. So not people who are already, just turning 65 or you're turning 65 in the next few years. But I think if you're I can't tell you what that age would be, but at some
What's
point.
wrong with 65? Isn't that old enough for you? Because 65, I'll tell you, I'm over 65. You can have health problems, a lot of health problems, after you're 65.
Yeah, we're talking about Medicare and Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people also don't have health problems at 65 and don't have, and are still working well into their 70s and 80s. I'm not saying that's not right. I'm not saying, Mike, you have to work for the rest of your life. But what I'm saying is, when this was put into place, the life expectancy wasn't as long as it is now.
So what's your point?
My point is, I do think that one of the ways to make it sustainable is, as the years go out, again, if you were 65, I'm not saying you've got Medicare and Social Security. We're taking it away until you hit 68. But I do think that maybe those should be moved out a couple of years eventually. 66, 67,
For what
68.
Purpose?
For sustainability.
And I talked with Randy Feenstra about this. I said he said it's just unsustainable and we have to save Medicare. But that's just a dodge, frankly. Randy Feenstra's a smart guy. And I said, yes, there's another way, and there's another way towards sustainability, and that's to make sure that it's funded. In other words, we'd have to raise taxes. And I know the Republican Party, and perhaps you, faint dead away at the very suggestion that we should raise taxes. But if there's anything on this earth that we should consider raising taxes for, it's to make Medicare sustainable at 65.
If there is anything that we should consider raising taxes for, that's keeping those programs in place.
That's correct.
Is absolutely correct. I don't know that the magic age is 65. And I that's my honest opinion. I don't know
I
that's...
I don't understand if that's your honest opinion, and I know you well enough to understand that you've been a medical person for a reason for a long time, and Jim got into the medical field, so your basic nature is compassion and healing.
Absolutely.
But trust me, as somebody who's 65 is a kid. Once you get into your 60s, on average, you have a lot more health problems. Matter of fact, I'm going out to see Mike Lee tomorrow. And that's just the way it is. I think the age of 65 was chosen correctly. By the way, I'm talking about a program that came about in 1965, not back in the dark ages. This was 1965. And I'm going to blow some minds here. I was actually on Earth in 1965. So I remember when Medicare was being discussed.
That was the year I was born.
And that was the year you were born? Oh, there we go. Another moment in history, ladies and gentlemen. But it's 65 wasn't brought about accidentally. We still don't have a huge life expectancy past 65.
And if there are
You know who lives the longest, don't you? Women. You're cutting your own throat over there, Meyer.
I've seen videos of why women live longer than men. Because
and
of
why is that? What kind of videos are you referring to?
Because of the stupid things men do, like balancing on roofs and.
Come on, you got to have a little fun in life.
Oh.
You got to get in race cars and go like hell after you've been drinking.
But you know what? Are there other ways that we could look at this?
There's 1,000 other ways.
Well, in order to, again,
why is it
maintain?
Why do you think it's necessary to look at other ways at all?
Why
I will
tell you why.
Satisfied with Medicare as it is?
Medicare and Social Security is what we're talking about. So we're talking about two programs that are kind of hand in hand. But you know what? Maybe everyone out there who has planned for their retirement, and it's not everyone out there. I'm not saying that, but there are some people out there, and I'm probably going to say our family included, that can do without that Social Security check at the month, and that could fund. So maybe there does need to be some means testing for higher income. People who are bringing in a higher income at that age.
Do you know anybody who actually refused a Social Security check?
No, because they don't have to. Because that's not been a. No, I don't know anyone who would refuse any check.
I know very wealthy people who collect Social Security.
I do too.
Because they paid into it, and that's their perfect right. A friend of mine gets thousands. I don't know, $2,500, $3,000 every month. He doesn't need it. But he paid into it, and he's going to get it. That's his party money.
But
the guy's a massive partier.
But that, and so yeah, you're right. He did pay into it, and I know that Social Security is based on your income. But maybe everyone doesn't need that, and that's how we could fund the program better for people who are not getting big Social Security checks. Let's say you're only getting $700 a month Social Security, and that's what you're living on.
Would you then still collect Social Security from rich dog dudes like my buddy, or would you exempt them from paying into Social Security since they're never going to draw it?
No, I would not exempt anyone from paying in.
Boy, some rich guys I know will be screaming at you, Ann.
I know, but I also know that, and I was listening to your program earlier about compassion and giving. I do believe that some things do need to be in policy in order to do that. We've got to. I want to preface this by saying that I am not in power in federal issues, and this is a federal issue.
This is a federal issue.
But I can lobby our federal representatives.
Well, Senator Kreinbrink, who's a wonderful guy, and we talked about him. He's a terrific guy with a great story.
Absolutely.
In his life and the young people they've adopted and the work they've done. And of course, Sally was over at St. Paul Lutheran School with Reverend Henderson, ran the school over there. And but the point being is that Senator Kreinbrink, Tim, our friend, has endorsed Randy Feenstra. Now, I haven't had a chance to talk with Tim about what we're talking about today, or Representative Sexton, our friend Scrappy. What I'm leading up to is that you folks, Republican representatives in the state, can have a tremendous effect on whoever the nominee is for Congress. So if I'm going to ask Tim when I see him if he was aware that Senator Feenstra wants to change Medicare, if he's a federal official, if he's our next U.S. congressman. Because I don't think Beto O'Shelton has a chance. Any of these, the Republicans should be able to beat that meatball without a problem. But this is something what we're really talking about is choosing our next congressional representative.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm eager to have Congressman King on Thursday. This and I questioned Randy about this. The congressional fourth is full of old people. The congressional fourth is full of old white people. Calhoun County and Pocahontas County, they're old counties. I believe those two counties, these figures are a few years old, but they had more people over the age of 65 per capita than any place in the world. And they had more people over 80 in those two counties. Now, those people depend on Medicare and Social Security, and they will vote to preserve them. They will vote for whatever candidate. And if Beto Shelton's out there in his silly-ass Sioux City van running around, promising to fight for it, that would be the only chance I think the Democrats have in the congressional fourth. Did I just say silly ass? I apologize if I did. I apologize. I don't want to be vulgar, more vulgar than I already am on the air. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying. And again, I guess I'm not familiar about the other candidates, what their position is on that. So
I hate to drill you on this, Ann, but
and that's really not. Again, that's really not. Other than like you, I can't really make those federal decisions. I can only lobby our federally elected officials.
That's right.
Just like you. So again, I gave you where I stand on that.
And I'm giving you what I think the majority of the constituents in your district and in the congressional 4th district, I'm giving you constituent feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe I don't think Randy Feenster is running loud and strong on this. I think Jeremy Taylor more likely will. But that's going to be a big drawback to Republicans in the congressional 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hello. I guess we're having a test here, Ann. We're having a test of some kind. You know, we have 7 radio stations here in this building. So nationally, they put the EMS in the talk station. All right. Ann Meyer's our guest. We'll be back.
All money managers might seem the same, but while some give their clients cookie-cutter portfolios, Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to your goals and needs. Some only call when they have something to sell. Fisher calls regularly, so you stay informed. And while some advisors are happy to earn commissions whether you do well or not, Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when you do better. In other words, we're on your side. Maybe that's why most of our clients come from other money managers. So if you're in or nearing retirement, talk with us and find out why investors are switching to and staying with Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments. Clearly better money management. Investments in securities involve the risk of loss. Visit us at FisherInvestments.com to find out what we can do for you.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The primary election for the Fort Dodge City Council will be tomorrow. The primary is for the at-large council seat. Nevin Conrad is the incumbent and faces challengers Melvin Newsom and Jim Underwood. The top 2 vote-getters of the 3 candidates will advance to the November 5th general election. The at-large council seat is a 4-year term. The polls open tomorrow at 7 a.m. and will remain open until 8 p.m. There are changes in 2 of the polling locations this year. Those that used to vote at Phil Haver Elementary School will now vote at First Congregational United Church of Christ at 1611 Williams Drive. Those that used to vote at Trinity United Methodist Church will now vote at Duncombe Elementary School at 1620 6th Avenue North. The 38th Annual Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Chili Cook-Off will be this Sunday, October 13th, at the Fort Museum and Frontier Village here in Fort Dodge. The event will begin that morning at 7 a.m. when the contestants select their spot and set up. The public tasting portion of the event will begin at 1 p.m. There will be an award ceremony at 4 p.m. with first, second, and third place trophies awarded, along with the People's Choice Award and the Wayne Goodenough Award for Best Showmanship. Those interested in entering the Chili Cook-Off can find the entry form on the Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Facebook page or by calling 515-570-6162. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell in their homecoming game Saturday, 43-27 to 12th-ranked Garden City, Kansas. For the Tritons, it was their first home loss in the last 6. The Tritons now are 3-4 on the season. In high school football from Friday night, St. Edmund fell to Sioux Central 37-18. Gales quarterback Drew Schaefer would have the second-best passing game in program history, going 14 of 25 for 242 yards and a score. Gales coach Matt Dillon said he was proud of his team's effort.
To give my guys credit, we played tremendously hard. Pleased with the effort, very pleased with the intensity that we came out with.
The Fort Dodge Dodgers fell on the road to Des Moines Roosevelt 16-14. The Dodger offense with 5 turnovers in the game. Fort Dodge is now 4-2 on the season, having lost their last 2 in a row, both of those district games. But Coach Matt Miller's message for his team is there's a lot left to play for.
We're not done yet. The best thing is, here's the deal, we're a 4-2 football team. We're probably 5 plays away from being a 6-0 football team, and we've been competitive in everything we've done.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn up 2 1/4 at $3.87. March up 2 cents at $3.99. May up 2 at $4.04 1/2, and July up 2 1/2 at $4.08 1/4. November soybeans down a penny at $9.15 1/4. January down 3/4 at $9.29 1/2. March down a quarter penny at $9.40 1/2. May up a quarter penny at $9.50 1/4. December wheat down 1 1/4 at $4.89 1/4. Soybean meal down $1.40 a ton at $297.40. October live cattle up 90 cents at $108 1/4. December up 42 at $111.20. October feeder cattle down 27 cents at $141.70. November down 45 at $140.92. October lean hogs down $190 at $60.50. December down the $3 limit at $64 1/4, and February limit down at $71.47. From the Alpha Media Farm Desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunny skies this afternoon with a high of 68. Southwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level off around 45 tonight. High of 69 tomorrow, clear skies. High of 68 Wednesday under mainly sunny skies. 65 Thursday, chance for scattered rain showers. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 69.
You can cook with pork in so many different ways. You might be surprised. Hi, I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Indiana chef Alan Sternberg cooks with pork every day. He says not only is it delicious, but there are many ways to prepare it.
It's got a lot of good fat in the shoulders, especially in the belly, and they transfer flavor really well. So it's fun to work with on that end of things. It's the animal that we get most of our charcuterie from, most sausages come from, but at the same time you could roast a whole cut and it's fine. It's just there's so many things you can do with it that it's just a lot of fun to work with. And
yeah, it's Mike.
Hello.
We encourage people to find that cut of pork that works best with whatever eating plan that they're following.
For some unique recipes, visit forkmorepork.com. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I was embarrassed and a little scared.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
I thought it would just make things worse.
It was tough at first, but I did it.
It ended up taking a huge weight off my shoulders.
I feel a lot better.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked for help.
I asked for help.
I asked my aunt.
I asked my dad.
I asked my teacher.
I asked my mom.
I asked the Trevor Project.
Now, I feel like I can get through this.
I know that I am brave.
You can do this.
You can do this.
Ask for help.
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 Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. Trained counselors are there to help 24/7. Ask for help.
Connect to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
Hi, this is Heather Reck with Neighborhood Realty. Are you thinking about selling your home but not sure who to list with? Well, being from Dayton, I am centrally located between several larger markets and have a vast knowledge of the small surrounding towns and acreages as well. I'm a full-time agent and mom of 3, making me a pro at schedules and time management. But that's not what is most important. At Neighborhood Realty, we'll list it, we'll sell it, and you'll move on. Find our information online at neighborhood-realty.net and make sure to check us out on Facebook.
Message and data rates may apply.
Earning your degree from one of the top business schools in the country might sound impossible to fit into your workload. But what if there were a business degree that advanced your career skills and gave you access to world-renowned faculty, leaders, and mentors all on your schedule? One that opened doors to some of the most influential CEOs, tech companies, law firms, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. And what if you could earn that degree in as little as 16 months, 100% online? Find out more. Text DRIVE to 79645. Start on the path to earning your MBA or Business Analytics Master's degree online from the W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University today. Learn more about the graduate programs from the top-ranked W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University, offered 100% online. Text DRIVE to 79645. That's DRIVE to 79645.
Men, do you want to know the dirty little secret the prostate pill industry hopes you never find out? Well, now you can, thanks to the Men's Guide to Prostate Secrets, featuring the latest news and research from one of America's leading urologists, Dr. Dudley Danoff of Tower Urology Group at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. In this guide, you will learn the truth about the PSA test, why most prostate pills don't work, why the saw palmetto pills at the drugstore are worthless, the 7 biggest mistakes most men make, the 5 foods that destroy your prostate, how to stop getting up at night to go, the dirty little secret the pill companies are hiding from you, and much more. This guide sells for $25 on Amazon, but right now you can get a free copy. Just call our 24-hour hotline. It's a recorded message to leave your name and mailing address. Call 1-800-500-2210. That's 1-800-500-2210. Call now and get your free copy. 1-800-500-2210.
Brought to you by ProstateReport.com.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
Well, this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. I'm going to put on a tie here, just any time. But I wear these button-down white shirts. It's an old habit. I've been wearing button-down white shirts since I was in high school in the 60s, because that was the cool thing. It hasn't been the cool thing for many years now. I don't care. The problem is, when I got to put on a tie, I got to unbutton these little buttons that nail down the collar. And I got one here that's really been a pain in the neck, and I just cannot get this sucker unbuttoned. But I think I'm just going to... Oh, I got it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm going to be down... I'm going to be Samuel Arkoff, well-known Fort Dodge native, Samuel Z. Arkoff, downtown this evening as we do kind of a a history walk downtown. And there will be others portraying historical Fort Dodge figures. That'll be down on Central Avenue this evening, and I hope to see you down there. Our guest is Representative Ann Meyer, and we've talked all we can about Medicare and those sort of programs. But I do want to talk with you a little bit about mental health. I know it's something that you've pledged yourself to.
Yep, absolutely.
And it seems like we have some mental health problems in our town. And it seems like we have a lot of need. We have a lot of people on the streets. The mayor and I talked about it last Thursday. There's people who are being brought here, I guess, in part by the Beacon of Hope. And Steve Rowe, God bless Steve Rowe and his work, but they have rules at the Beacon of Hope, and if somebody breaks those rules, they're out. Well, if they're out, then they're on the streets, and they're our problem. And I don't know what to do about that. I want Steve and his group to continue to prosper over there and continue to do good Christian work. On the other hand, I don't want these people walking down the middle of 2nd Avenue North at 5 o'clock in the morning talking to themselves at the top of their throat, because I've seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen other disturbing things, people sleeping in the parking lots and these sorts of things.
We definitely have homeless in Fort Dodge. I met with Steve Rowe for a couple hours last Wednesday, and he showed me around the Beacon and told me about, first of all, he doesn't take any government funds.
That's right, he doesn't.
He is, depends on donations, and that's something that Jim and I have supported for years.
He depends on churches, and he preaches the word of God as he sees it.
Yes.
As rehabilitative. And,
yep. He's a very good Christian, and what the main thing that Steve wants people to know, which I think is a great thing to know, is they've got people there from age 16 to age 80, and he said everyone in the Beacon, if they're physically able, they work.
Yes.
They have a job. They're all contributing. They're not just lazy guys laying in bed. They're working. They're working outside the Beacon. They're working inside the Beacon. They maintain that building, and Steve does do a great job. And it is a Christian mission, and people know when they're coming in that this is a Christian mission, and that's what's in Steve's heart. Any way we can collaborate with Steve, Ashley, with the Lotus Project. We've got YW, that's the substance abuse for females. Any way that we can all work together with the city, with all the volunteers. I heard Austin talking about the pastors getting together. Everyone needs to come together and work on this problem, because like you guys were talking about, this is not something that can be solved by one person or one entity, and it's certainly not something that can be solved overnight.
Well, let's take the first step then.
Yes.
You're right. It's a huge problem, and Jesus said the poor will always be with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Jesus probably meant the poor and those who are mentally ill or don't have the wherewithal as far as their character is concerned to support themselves. So what do we do? Well, I want to talk with you about the first step in what do we do.
I think increasing our resources that are available in the community already, and supporting them, like the food cupboards. There are so many people doing their part to make our town a better place. We definitely need more mental health beds, and that's something I talk about over and over.
So what do we do, Representative Meyer of the Republican Party? Raise taxes? Oh my God, we can't do that.
I know you love talking about raising taxes.
No, sometimes you have to spend money.
You definitely
If you want something, it has to be paid
money
for. That's a very capitalist thought. It's a very capitalist Christian thought. If you really are sincere about taking care of the widows, of the orphans, the homeless, and the destitute, you need to spend money to do it. Again, that's a very Christian capitalist thought, which I consider myself. I don't consider themselves individual parts of my personality. There's no duality. I believe as a Christian certain things are required of me.
Yeah.
And this would be one of them.
And I agree. And we do need to set priorities. And one of those priorities is housing our people, especially, with the winter coming up, feeding our people.
That's right.
If you don't have a place to stay and you don't have food to eat, you're really not worried about what's going on in the national news, are you?
Not really.
So
that kind of focuses you. Being hungry focuses you. Yes.
So it's one thing we all learned in schools, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If your basic needs are not met, you can't move on to anything else.
That's correct.
So we've got to focus on setting a priority to make sure we've got food and shelter for the people in our town, without a doubt.
I will focus on that with you, Ann. How shall we do it?
How shall we do it? I think we are addressing it, but I think more people need to get involved. It doesn't mean we need to fund food banks more. Probably does.
I tried to get the city to make a Christmas donation to one of our local food banks, and they all gave me the bird.
What's that? I know this. I know the city people. They are all good Christian people.
Now, Bemrick can be a hard man.
I still feel that he has got a good heart.
Bemrick can be a hard man. Oh no, Mike, you go do it. You find it. He was into that kick for a while. He just, if somebody came to the city, he wanted him. He was very libertarian there for a while. If somebody came to the city with a problem, he said, "Well, that's up to you citizens to take care of them." So I'll be jumping on Bemrick on Thursday again.
Well, you know what? It's all of our responsibilities as
you're right. It is
as citizens, but
and
as
the city,
elected,
by the way, should take a lead in this as well. I mean, if they don't want to lead, let them get the hell out of the way.
But the state needs to be. We all need to be part of this.
Yes, that's right.
And we meet with the city leaders and the county leaders, the councilmen, twice a month, or more often as we can, and they, everyone brings what's going on and ideas to the table. So, but really, the basic needs of people have to be met first, and then mental health.
Let's focus on mental health right now.
Okay, so we're in a 22 county regions called County Social Services.
Yes.
And I've been
There's
attending.
a rather large county supervisor who's involved in that.
Yeah. Campbell. Mark Campbell is the
representative. Campbell's not that big.
When I go to the meetings, it's Mark
okay.
who is our representative to County Social Services. So I'm sure all the supervisors are involved, just like everyone from the state's involved with legislation. But anyhow, we're going to be talking about. There is a meeting coming up in October, which I plan on attending with the other state officials in our area, in the 22 county region that includes Fort Dodge, on how to better serve our area. So, and I've been going to these county meetings since sessions has ended. I did miss one, but I think they're very important that not just that board is sitting there. I think our county leaders and our city and our state leaders need to be at those meetings as well, because I don't think we're all on the same page.
No, we're not, but we need to be in fast.
So again, this is not something that's going to happen overnight, but I do believe we are getting started on. I know I'm getting started on it. I have been since we left session.
What have you been doing? Have you been working on this in Des Moines? Is that what you're saying?
No, I've been meeting. Well, yes. No, well, yes.
You feel very strongly both ways.
Yes, I feel strongly both ways. No, I've met with, like I said, I met with Steve. I met with community providers in town, Berry Hill, the hospital. I have not met with CFR yet. That's on my list to make that contact. I mean, I went to their opening, but that's not a meeting. We don't get an actual chance to talk. Let's see. Actually, I had a meeting with one of our county supervisors who's up for re-election pretty soon, and he had some good ideas on how the state can work with the city to maybe increase our police force. I don't know if more officers is the answer, but I know we are thin on officers.
Mm-hmm.
And, if there's a way that we can support the city in having more law enforcement, I think that that's something we need to look at.
Don't be saying that. Bemrick will have speed camera cars on every corner because that's how we pay for a couple of police officers right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need to go to the city people, the citizens of Fort Dodge, and say, we need these things. We need fire protection. I mean, we wouldn't have a fire department like we have now if it wasn't for Bemrick. He believes it's absolutely essential for future growth that we have the fire department.
Absolutely.
But it's a huge department for a town our size. That's why our fire department now does ambulance calls, and Trinity Regional doesn't do them anymore. But that's I don't know how we can do something similar with the police department to increase the number of officers over there.
Well, it has to. What we talked about was just kind of taking off some restrictions on levies.
Yeah.
So it's going to be not necessarily raising taxes, but just giving them the flexibility of where to use tax dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's fair.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, they're the ones on the ground funding these programs.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And Myers, I guess I forgot. If you want to call in and ask Representative Meyer a question, that's perfectly all right.
Hey, I'd like to promote something in town.
Promote it.
Here we go. Next Monday night, a week from tonight, is our Republican Central Committee, Webster County Republican Central Committee chili supper. It's going to be out at Fort Frenzy, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah, it starts at 5 o'clock. It's Columbus Day. And our...
Indigenous Peoples Day? Yeah.
Yep. It is our keynote speaker is Governor Reynolds.
You don't mean the 9th, you mean the 16th.
I mean Columbus Day. Let me
Which
look at my calendar.
Columbus
the 14th.
Day the 14th is Columbus Day?
Yeah, it's a week from today.
Okay.
And again, that's going to be at 5 o'clock. We're going to have chili supper, cinnamon rolls, cornbread. It's the 14th. I'm sorry. My informant just told me it starts at 5:30.
That's good because I have to work till 5.
Yeah. And that, you know what? I think we were going to have it at 5, and that's why we changed it. So to make sure you could get over there.
Just so I could get there for chili. Yeah?
Also, I want to say that our Secretary of Agriculture, who is a very good friend to Webster County, Mike Negg, is also going to be there speaking.
Oh, Negg's a good guy.
He is a great guy.
I should still be welcome over at the Republican Party doings, even though I've been barking about Medicare and Social Security for a while.
Well, you know what? You have been on both parties, so I don't think that there's an issue.
I've really been on the Democrats. So I saw the Democrats had a pork chop dinner with one of their presidential candidates, probably a transgender or something or other. But I thought about going, and I thought, no, somebody will just start throwing rocks at me.
I like how they get their annual meeting on Channel 13.
I mean, that's the liberal media for you, Ann.
Yeah, I don't think Channel 13 is going to be at the chili supper.
And they should be.
They should be because our governor is going to be there.
That's right.
So I'm looking forward to that. She is a great lady. She's a great speaker. And I will tell you what, she has got these social issues on her agenda as well. We are all...
Governor Reynolds does.
Yes, she does. She is not... Yes, she is not looking to cut your taxes and take away your food. She is for... Obviously, I mean,
I would love to talk to her about that sometime. You know, she's not going to tell me anything. I mean, she talks with TV people and Des Moines Register people all the time, so she's not going to tell some radio guy in Fort Dodge, you know, really what's up. But I would really like to ask her about some of these, about how she feels about Medicare, or if it's socialist. And I realize she's a state employee,
right?
But she has been in favor of a privatization of Medicaid, and she's given me that canard about it's unsustainable, so we had to privatize it. Well, I didn't really believe that, you know. And the reason I didn't believe it is because Terry Branstad hated public employees and their unions, and he hated state-run programs. He believed Terry Branstad was a real believer in that. Private business could run the world much more efficiently than government ever could. He believed that in his soul. And there's some truth to that, too.
I believe it. I believe that that's true as well.
Yeah.
I think that we...
I'm with you there. I'm probably not as with you as some Republicans, some of your fellow Republicans are. But I'm with you there. You're right. Business people can inevitably run these programs better.
I think when government runs things, we get a little top heavy. I really do. I think we get too many administrators.
That's called patronage. It's been part of the Democratic Party thing for a long, long time. I mean, if a Democratic policy, that's the way Democrats pay their people for working for them and voting for them. That's part of the political process. I mean, that's what. And Republicans do it too. I mean, but they don't do it to the extent that the Democrats do, I don't think.
Hey, and you know what? If we've got a couple more minutes,
we just have a couple more, and they're all yours, Ann, because I like you. I think you're cool.
Well, we've got new Republican leadership coming up this session.
That's right.
Speaker Uppmeyer, who I absolutely love, and she is just been such a good leader, such a good mentor to me. She decided to step down from speaker.
How old is she?
67.
Okay. Well,
and you know what?
She's getting there then.
She has missed, she was telling us she missed this was a really hard decision for her because she loves this job. She loves what she does. But she said she's missed so many family things with her grandkids, and so she did step down.
That is a problem. 67 isn't young. I'm 67. AM 1400 KVFD, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hey, I just wanted to add in about adding police officers to Fort Dodge. I'd like to maybe see if, not necessarily do an across-the-board raise of that 810 levy, but maybe set up some sort of program where the communities can petition to get some sort of relief from that. I just don't think that all cities should be able to take advantage of that.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for your call.
They can submit their crime statistics or whatnot, and then they can be maybe open that up a little bit. But I just don't think it should be across the board.
Do you think we need more police officers in Fort Dodge?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, I do too.
So what you're saying is, though, not completely across the state.
Yeah, I think that the communities can make a case, kind of like they can do with the ethanol program at the federal level, where they can apply for an exemption or something like that.
Yep.
So
thank you.
Something that we can still get a little bit of hands on.
Yep.
Hey,
okay,
thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, great suggestion.
So we had our election for new leadership this morning, and so Representative Pat Grassley is now the Speaker-elect.
Who is Senator Grassley's grandson?
Grandson, yep, and he's been in the House for 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he was.
The senator's really old then, isn't
he? Yeah, and Representative Matt Winchettle is now the Majority Leader.
He's my gun guy.
Yeah, he is, and he is a good, stable force. He's, anytime I ask him for some advice, he always, gives both sides and lets you, see what, what decision you should make. And he's very stable force. And then our Speaker Pro Tem is John Wills, and he is up in Okoboji, Dickinson County, and he is Megan Jones, which I believe you spoke with last week.
I know
or the
Megan.
week before.
I've met her face to face. Yeah, nice person.
That's her Senate mate. So.
All right, and I want to thank you so much for coming in and having this great conversation. I think we just need to tax Mike Sexton more, frankly.
And don't forget about the chili supper week from
For
week from
exciting
tonight.
Panther sports, keep it right here on your home for University of Northern Iowa sports in North Central Iowa. The voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
This is a Fox News alert. The president says it's time to come home. I'm Lisa Brady. President Trump saying moments ago he defends his decision to pull U.S. troops out of northern Syria.
We're policing. We're not fighting. We're policing. We're not a police force.
The decision taking some top military commanders by surprise, along with Kurdish forces who helped defeat ISIS and will now be left vulnerable to a possible invasion by Turkey, which considers the Kurds terrorists. The Kurds have also been guarding thousands of captured ISIS fighters and their families. President Trump criticizing the fighters' native countries for not agreeing to take them back.
Let them take care of it. Let them take care of it. We want to bring our troops back home. It's been many, many years. It's been decades in many cases.
The decision, though, has drawn a bipartisan backlash. Fox's Jared Halpern is live on Capitol Hill.
Usually reliable allies of President Trump in Congress are staking out opposition to that announced U.S. withdrawal from northern Syria, a move expected to put Kurdish fighters at risk from a Turkish attack. Number 3 House Republican leader Liz Cheney called the move a catastrophic mistake. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell warns of risking a new conflict between Turkey and U.S. partners in Syria. Even President Trump's former United Nations ambassador Nikki Haley calls the withdrawal a big mistake, writing the U.S. must always have the backs of our allies. Lisa.
Thanks, Jared. Meantime, the impeachment probe continues over the president's call with Ukraine's president.
It's lucky that I'm the president because I don't know what. A lot of people said very few people could handle it. I sort of thrive on it.
He calls the probe a scam. 3 House committees issuing more subpoenas today, this time for the U.S. Defense Secretary and the acting White House budget chief over military aid that was temporarily withheld from Ukraine. America is listening to Fox News.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
President Trump loses a round in the fight over his tax returns, but the decision earlier today was quickly put on hold.
A federal judge in New York has rejected the president's challenge to the release of his tax returns, saying he cannot endure such a categorical and limitless assertion of presidential immunity. The returns are being sought by the Manhattan District Attorney, who is investigating the Trump Organization's involvement in buying the silence of 2 women who claim to have had affairs with the president.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. The president's lawyers call the case politically motivated. Just a few hours after that ruling, a federal appeals court temporarily blocked the release of the returns while the legal tug of war continues. The U.S. Supreme Court term that started today heats up quickly tomorrow with arguments over the reach of existing federal civil rights law.
Two cases, one of them involves two gay men. The first was fired from his government job. He claims that it was because of his sexuality. His employer argues it was due to work performance. The other man was fired from his job as a skydiving instructor. His employer said it acted after some clients complained. And then the second case involves a funeral home worker who was let go after she began transitioning. So the question for the justices really is, does this 1964 civil rights law, which bans discrimination based on sex in the workplace, does that extend to sexual orientation and gender identity?
Fox's Kristen Fisher at the Supreme Court. Arguments today in a federal appeals court over Mississippi's new abortion restrictions. An attorney for the state arguing that a federal court that rejected the state's 15-week abortion ban should have let the state present evidence about whether a fetus experiences pain. A lawyer for Mississippi's only abortion clinic, though, argued the Supreme Court has been clear a woman has the right to choose before the fetus is viable. And this is the greatest Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News update, I'm Rob Jones. The primary election for the Fort Dodge City Council will be tomorrow. The primary is for the at-large council seat. Nevin Conrad is the incumbent and faces challengers Melvin Newsom and Jim Underwood. The top two vote getters of the three candidates will advance to the November 5th general election. The at-large council seat is a 4-year term. The polls open tomorrow at 7 a.m. and will remain open until 8 p.m. There are changes in two of the polling locations this year. Those that used to vote at Philhaver Elementary School will now vote at First Congregational United Church of Christ at 1611 Williams Drive. Those that used to vote at Trinity United Methodist Church will now vote at Duncombe Elementary School at 1620 6th Avenue North. The 38th Annual Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Chili Cook-Off will be this Sunday, October 13th, at the Fort Museum in Frontier Village here in Fort Dodge. The event will begin that morning at 7 a.m. when the contestants select their spot and set up. The public tasting portion of the event will begin at 1 p.m. There will be an award ceremony at 4 p.m. with first, second, and third place trophies awarded, along with the People's Choice Award and the Wayne Goodenough Award for Best Showmanship. Those interested in entering the Chili Cook-Off can find the entry form on the Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Facebook page or by calling 515-570-6162. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell in their homecoming game Saturday, 43-27 to 12th-ranked Garden City, Kansas. For the Tritons, it was their first home loss in the last 6. The Tritons now are 3-4 on the season. In high school football from Friday night, St. Edmund fell to Sioux Central 37-18. Gales quarterback Drew Schaefer would have the second-best passing game in program history, going 14 of 25 for 242 yards and a score. Gales coach Matt Dillon said he was proud of his team's effort.
To give my guys credit, we played tremendously hard. Pleased with the effort, very pleased with the intensity that we came out with.
The Fort Dodge Dodgers fell on the road to Des Moines Roosevelt 16-14. The Dodger offense with 5 turnovers in the game. Fort Dodge is now 4-2 on the season, having lost their last 2 in a row, both of those district games. But Coach Matt Miller's message for his team is there's a lot left to play for.
We're not done yet. The best thing is, here's the deal, we're a 4-2 football team. We're probably 5 plays away from being a 6-0 football team, and we've been competitive in everything we've done.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunny skies this afternoon with a high of 68. Southwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level off around 45 tonight. High of 69. Tomorrow, clear skies. High of 60. Wednesday, under mainly sunny skies. 65 Thursday, chance for scattered rain showers. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 70.
You work hard, and you deserve to get the most for your money. Like health insurance coverage with the largest, most accessible networks, so you can choose where you want to go for care. like having multiple plans so you can choose the coverage that works best for you. Mostly, you deserve to have the health insurance expertise Iowans have been trusting for over 80 years. Wellmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield. To find the small business or individual plan that's right for you, talk to your local agent about Wellmark today. Get started at wellmark.com.
Staples gives your business more for less.
It's where I get more peace of mind knowing my ink is in stock. It's where I get more done with my day because I'm in and out fast. And where I get more savings since it's always low priced.
And right now at Staples, all HP ink cartridges are buy one, get one 30% off. Plus, get free overnight delivery on HP ink at staples.com. Staples, for all your business essentials and beyond.
Ends 10/12/19. Restrictions apply. Free delivery excludes holidays and weekends. Order by 5 p.m. See store or staples.com/ink savings for details.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
Hi, I'm Michael Devine, and it's my job to spread paranoia, fear, and terror, which I'm very good at. So that's why I have Dr. Evil on the air with me today. And Dr. Evil, of course, is City Manager David Furyk. How are you there, David?
Great, Mike. How are you?
All right. I understand you're going to crush Fort Dodge in your mighty right hand. Is that correct? Or do I have that wrong or right? I'm right, aren't I?
Crush Fort Dodge.
Crush Fort Dodge.
See, now you're trying to spread fear, rage, and what was the other one? Panic?
Yeah, something. Horror, terror.
Yeah.
It's in my job description.
Yeah.
I saw it advertised in a trade magazine. Wanted somebody to spread fear and rage in Fort Dodge, Iowa. I thought, I'm your man. Here it is, right here, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a question or comment for the city manager, 515-955-1400. By the way, tonight I will be Samuel Z. Arkoff. Yes, I may look like Mike Devine, but I'll actually be Samuel Z. Arkoff. And Samuel Z. Arkoff is a famous Fort Dodger who was the co-founder of American International Pictures. Now, people of a certain age, not Dr. Evil here, but certainly myself and Councilman Menke, who are old as dirt, will remember all the great beach party movies and the biker movies and some horror movies. Those were all the brainchild of Samuel Z. Arkoff, who was born and raised right here
in Fort Dodge.
In Fort Dodge, Iowa.
Yeah.
And I was interested to see that Samuel Arkoff was the son of Russian immigrants, and they were part of a once thriving Jewish community here in Fort Dodge.
Okay.
And he wrote, when he was in high school in the 1930s, he wrote a piece called I Am a Jew. And it finished high in a statewide composition competition, excuse me. And boy, I'd like to read that. You know, I often thought about minorities in Fort Dodge at that time because they were a distinct minority, and what it must have looked like to them to live in this overwhelmingly white and Christian, certainly at the time, town. I mean, really in Fort Dodge, you're either Catholic Lutheran or you're in a cult, you know.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a community that was predominantly established by Germans and Norwegians
and Swedes
and the Italians were probably pretty Catholic too when they came over.
The Italians are out in East Lawn were pretty Catholic.
So I mean, there's still the Shalom Center, which is part of the First Presbyterian Church, just across the street.
Sure it is,
that
but
was
they used
the
to be
original
the synagogue.
Yeah, it's a beautiful building.
At one time, when I came to Fort Dodge, there were 40 Jewish families here that supported the synagogue, and we had five men's clothing stores, and they were all Jewish people, and we had a couple of women's clothing stores, especially Mrs. Monsine, who's been gone for a long time, but they were also Jewish people and Jewish families that attended the synagogue here.
So when did the synagogue close?
Pastor Hill was here earlier. He said that the Presbyterian Church bought it in 2003. So I assume they closed their congregation. And I'm sure there's still a few Jewish people that live in Fort Dodge, but there's not nearly as many. Not nearly as many. My old boss in radio, J. Michael Libby, was Jewish. And he, in fact, his son was one of the first, his son Aaron, Aaron. He had a bar mitzvah, and I went to it, which is just packed. Yeah. And, of course, most of the congregants, but most of the people who were in the synagogue were Christians who were invited by the Libbies to attend this bar mitzvah. And Mike kept saying, you people are too serious. You got to loosen up a little bit. Because we were just so respectful, we were sitting there frozen in our seats. And
Well, I remember the name Sam Arkoff even before I moved to Fort Dodge. I remember hearing about it from like those B movies or something like that. And then when I came here, I don't know if it was when Sandy Bushman gave me a tour when I was doing the job interview, but the name got brought up again. I said, "Oh, that's interesting. He has some ties back here," but I really didn't learn the whole story until the Fireball Run, when they were putting together the actual different parts of the presentation. Did we really dig into the Sam Arkoff history and learn about all he did? And I didn't know he did Amityville Horror, which I think was probably the I would say most popular mainstream movie he did. It was a horror movie.
Yeah.
I remember watching that when I was a kid, and that was scary.
Yeah.
That was
a scary one.
That was
Sam Arkoff, maker of drive-in thrillers, and drive-in movie thriller. Those were the days.
Was
the world has changed now.
Was Amityville Horror the one where the ghost would say like "Get out"?
Probably so.
I can't remember.
I'm thinking it was. I
remember those glowing eyes in the window. I remember that scene.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that scared me as a young lad.
Well, I was 14 years old, sitting in the movie theater, now going to Iowa, when that Funicello bounced across the screen in a bikini, and I just thought that was the greatest thing in the United States of America. Certainly in my young life, I said galvanized in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
That was. At that time, we didn't have a lot of young girls in bikinis who spent most of the movie in a bikini. But at the time, we did.
Yeah. So what do you do tonight? Do you have to talk a little bit about his past?
I will portray as an actor because I had great acting skills. Actually, I'm just a ham. But because I have...
Is there a difference?
There really isn't much of a difference. Most actors are, not all actors are hams. But Mr. Arkoff launched the careers of Michael Landon, Peter Fonda, Jack Nicholson, Cher, Nick Nolte, Robert De Niro.
Wow.
Charles Bronson, Barbara Hershey, Candy Clark, Fabian, Richard Dreyfuss, Dennis Hopper, Mel Gibson, Melanie Griffith, Bruce Dern. Bruce Dern was just this really strange guy. He was this unique actor who played strange characters. Because I think Bruce is a little strange, but Arkoff put him right in the movies. Put him right up front. He was.
So is this kind of like the the memorial? Is this like the cemetery walks? Only the same
kind
format
of like
as that?
but it's another thing to get people downtown.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. Really.
I don't know how well Main Street and Short there, Shelley Butter promoted it, but it should be a nice little event tonight.
Cool.
So I'll
Where's
be down.
It at?
Well, I'll be down right next to Ryman Music. I forget what building it is there, but I'll be inside holding forth as Samuel Arkoff.
What time's it start?
Well, I'll be there at between 5:30 to 7:30.
Okay.
And then I'm going home and grill.
Yeah, enjoy the grilling weather before it changes.
Yeah, because this will be. Well, I think I'm going to lose all my farm guys this week. I just got a message from Steve Peterson of the Farm Bureau. I'm combining now, so I know I will be in the field tomorrow. And Greg Hoare, I don't see Greg that much anymore.
Do you want some more city people this week?
If you don't mind. If you don't mind. Send Vicky over. She's always interesting.
Yeah.
Send Vicky over tomorrow at 3. Vicky Reek, yeah.
Yeah.
She loves me. Well,
sure.
Maybe not. No, I'm not
I
sure.
can see. Can see what we have. There's probably a few folks that got
Chad. Send Chad over. He's
tell.
always a big stud. Chad Schieffer.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea. I wonder if we could talk about at the end of the month they're going to the shopping center conference over in Chicago to start recruiting. So maybe try to recruit more businesses to.
Who's going over there?
Chad Schaefer, and I think Mayor Benrick are going.
Chad's going over, the city engineer? Why is he going?
Chad's taking a broader role in economic development and development.
Seriously?
Yeah. He's doing more of the higher level economic development recruiting. He's the one that's working directly with the retail coach on the work they've done for us to study in, and then going out and reaching out to businesses that would find it beneficial to locate in Fort Dodge. So.
All right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So he's sticking Tony with all the work.
Yeah, Tony's kind of taken over, kind of as a lead on all the engineering
lead,
stuff. Yeah.
What, wasn't Chad cutting it or what?
No, Chad's great. No, I don't. It's not that at all. I think Tony actually is really good at what he does and has taken over more responsibility.
I have no doubt that's true. I have no doubt that's true. So, do we have a city council meeting tonight?
We do not. It is the first Monday of the month.
Oh, that's right.
And we didn't have one last Monday because that was the 5th Monday in September. So yeah, we've had a nice.
This is strange.
2-week break. This happens, I think, 4 times a year. We get these 5th Mondays where we get a little bit longer break.
So we're going to have city council meetings then the 14th and 28th of this month.
The 14th and 28th.
You know, my watch says it's the 8th, so I'm getting ahead of myself here, obviously. Obviously getting ahead of myself. God, I hate this when that does that. So what's going on over at the city anyway? Yeah, let's try to get Chad and Vicky over here, and we'll hang out with them, and I'll give Vicky a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah,
which she will not put up with.
Shoot me an email or a text message on what times you have free,
3 o'clock tomorrow. Steve Peterson just said he can't
3
come.
3 o'clock tomorrow.
Or let's see. 2:30 tomorrow. 2:30 to 3:30, I guess.
Oh, a whole hour?
Oh, well, we can bring Vicky for 20 minutes and
maybe we'll have
second.
See if they come 2:30, 3:30 and talk all about development in Fort Dodge.
There we go. Who else you have over there?
Of course, they're going to be nervous because they're going to want to know what they can and can't talk
Nervous
about.
in the service?
Oh, we have so many secret
Well,
projects.
you intimidate them, David. You loom over them, and he's this great big guy, and you're, all right, don't go over there and screw up now. I'll body slam you.
No.
Huh? You don't do that?
No. It's just economic development. People want to be careful about what they share. So, what projects worth sharing or not. So,
is there anything that you guys could ever share?
There's lots. I just can't talk about it right now.
I was going to say, you guys are so cagey. You and Plouts and everybody over the Growth Alliance. Well, we can tell you there's something going on. Well, I can't tell you what's going on, but there's something going on. Yeah, that'll drive most people.
We could be making that all up and really not doing any work at all.
Well, that's
we got this big thing
That's what I suspect. That's what I think you're just all sitting over there.
And then if it doesn't come, if they pick some other location, we can't tell you that they picked some other location. So it's just, or that we can tell you, but you don't know any facts. Yeah, it's one of those weird professions where, you can't quite talk about everything you do all the time.
When are we going to knock down the old Sears building? Can you talk about that? I blew his mind with that. He just froze him in place.
I'm pausing to think, can I talk about it or can I not? I don't know. I wouldn't have a factual answer on when it would come down or not. So even if I could tell you, I don't know anything. How's that for a response?
I've never heard that said with such pride. I don't know anything.
Maybe I'll see if we can get Chad and Vicky to report.
I want to tell you, I'm pretty cool. I don't know a damn thing. Yeah, there we go. Let's get Chad and Vicky over here. I'll try to trip them up. No, they're too.
No, I just don't think that date's been pinned down on ultimately when the project will start, like a new project will start. So how to back into the demo.
Lori Branderhurst was out at our road meeting today.
Yep.
She had a lot of, where is my stuff on that? So.
We got projects all around. Building the pond
at Olsen
Park. It'll be much smaller than the old one, but hopefully it'll stay clear and actually be something that's pretty cool.
And what's happening? What was the first park she mentioned? Now I've opened my mouth.
Well, she really talked about Olsen and Snell Crawford. We talked a little bit about Expo. You want me to talk a little bit about Expo Park?
Rock with it, David.
So Expo Park used to be where Expo Pool was, which was once that exhibition place. And so the pool's been gone for quite some time, and it's taken us a while to get around to, okay, now what? We've left it just open grass for a while. Initially, there were some discussions about, could it be redeveloped into housing or something like that? Mm-hmm. But what it turns out is that we had received some grant money from the feds, Bureau of Outdoor Recreation, years ago. I don't even know what the department's called anymore. But when you receive that grant money from the feds, you have to commit that you're going to leave that space as outdoor recreation in perpetuity.
Okay.
So now the plan is for that park is to develop it as kind of a passive walking park with some outdoor kind of sculpture your parks,
right.
Really cool sort of passive, peaceful location, some plantings, some flowers. It'll be really neat for that area. But so that'll take some time, put the walkways in, find the sculptures, and try to get some stuff that maybe is a little active where kids can even play in and around the sculptures. So
how come we cut the road out, the access road in Olson Park?
Basically, it's duplicative. You have it basically parallels Olson Park Avenue, and we wanted to build that connecting bike path, so we thought it would make sense to cut the road out and use the bike path, use that road as a bike path, reduce the amount of pedestrian and vehicle conflicts within parks. So, I mean, you can access the parking lots now just directly from Olson Park Avenue and go in and park just like before. Again, and we did that, kind of in the center of the park, and then even on the south end where you'd enter for the band shell, you can still enter that access point and park in those areas, but really just to avoid that sort of internal circulation of vehicle traffic in the park when it's really not necessary, since it basically parallels a city street now.
You don't think it's necessary?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
You can pretty much get to all the attractions and park close to all the attractions. You just got to kind of pick your entrance and your parking lot where you want to go in.
That's all I got to do.
Huh?
That's all you got to do.
Yeah, and it is, for your listeners out there, it is no longer a roadway. I've seen people confused and actually drive on it.
Yes, they
like
do.
It's still a roadway. It is not.
One of those people could have been me.
Yeah.
One of those people could have been me. Well, anyway.
So yeah, we're multi-phases with that one of the project. The next phase is going to be reestablishing that pond, and then the stage after that is going to be, the barn, getting the barn fixed up. There was even talk in a master plan of trying to build some sort of 3 or 4 season space in there, assembly kind of space, pavilion kind of space. We'll have to see if we get that far, but at least the barn and ultimately the council is going to decide whether we reestablish the petting zoo or not in there as well. It won't have nearly.
We
the
haven't
exotics.
decided whether we're going to do that or not.
I mean, they're ultimately going to have to budget for it and say, yep, we're going to do that. But I think the intention all along is that it's set up that we can reestablish the petting zoo. Well, the old zoo had some exotic animals that we wouldn't have.
Well, we got a little carried away with those exotic animals there, and then it got hot, and then there was a big deal about it, and that's been some years ago. But were we selling those exotic animals?
Well, actually, they weren't.
The Friends of the Olson Park Zoo.
Yeah, they were possession. They were in the possession of the Friends of the Olson Park Zoo, and that was an organization of volunteers, and it was at one time it was great. And there was a bunch of people involved, and oh gosh, was Orville? What was O'Connor? Am I getting that name right? Over O'Connor, he basically would buy these exotics, keep them in the wintertime. We had the winter quarters, and he would do so much work, just donate so much time to taking care of those animals. And, he passed on, and then, the organizations like that just come and go, and that one, just kind of lost.
No, they were booted out, David. You can say they were booted out.
Here you go, trying to create rage.
No.
They were not booted out.
But that the rec board, planning and rec board, decided to disassociate the Friends with the planning and rec board.
Really? When was that vote?
We talked about it on the air for 2 weeks, and Menke and I still talk about it.
Oh.
So yeah, it happened, David. It's okay. No, it was an outrage, but I got over it. After thrashing about for a few days and trying to arouse the population. I don't have great arousal skills. Not like you, David.
I don't
you
know
can get them aroused real fast.
Yeah, I just gotta say, we're gonna change spring cleanup, and that gets people all excited.
Yeah, see, there's another one. You see, that's how you got, your.
That's how I got my nickname.
That's the Dr. Evil nickname, right? That and a number of other things. I mean, yeah, Dr. Evil, totally Dr. Evil.
Mm-hmm.
See, the city should should serve the people of Fort Dodge, not the other way around. See?
Exactly.
There we go. So, I've got it all figured out.
I mean, the city's just an extension of the people of Fort Dodge.
Is it?
Think about it, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the way it is in theory.
People, they elect leaders. Leaders make decisions, and the people put money into it to do the things they want done in the community.
Well, I'll have Menke tomorrow, and I'll ask him about this.
Well, it's really we're
You're just an extension.
Just an extension of people making decisions.
Social workers at City Hall.
Yeah, I got you gotta be careful how you word it. That doesn't start sounding really socialist. But when you think about it, a city is just people getting together to decide that they want to pay for and deliver services jointly versus independently, whether that's trash collection or law enforcement or fire protection, parks and recreation.
Okay. So, anything as we close here, David? Because we're going to close.
No, I really don't have anything too exciting. I can't create any more arousal or rage in you.
Well, you have great arousal skills. I've heard. I've asked around. Oh yeah, that's true. He'll get you aroused. Okay. So I'm sure that surprises your wife, but anyway, see if Vicky and Chad will come over tomorrow, will you?
I will.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Dr. Dean Stansel, economist with Southern Methodist University, coming up.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The primary election for the Fort Dodge City Council will be tomorrow. The primary is for the at-large council seat. Nevin Conrad is the incumbent and faces challengers Melvin Newsom and Jim Underwood. The top two vote getters of the three candidates will advance to the November 5th general election. The at-large council seat is a 4-year term. The polls open tomorrow at 7 a.m. and will remain open until 8 p.m. There are changes in 2 of the polling locations this year. Those that used to vote at Phil Haver Elementary School will now vote at First Congregational United Church of Christ at 1611 Williams Drive. Those that used to vote at Trinity United Methodist Church will now vote at Duncombe Elementary School at 1620 6th Avenue North. The 38th Annual Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Chili Cook-Off will be this Sunday, October 13th, at the Fort Museum and Frontier Village here in Fort Dodge. The event will begin that morning at 7 a.m. when the contestants select their spot and set up. The public tasting portion of the event will begin at 1 p.m. There will be an award ceremony at 4 p.m. with first, second, and third place trophies awarded, along with the People's Choice Award and the Wayne Goodenow Award for Best Showmanship. Those interested in entering the Chili Cook-Off can find the entry form on the Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Facebook page or by calling 515-570-6162. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell in their homecoming game Saturday, 43-27 to 12th-ranked Garden City, Kansas. For the Tritons, it was their first home loss in the last 6. The Tritons now are 3-4 on the season. In high school football from Friday night, St. Edmund fell to Sioux Central 37-18. Gales quarterback Drew Schaefer would have the second best passing game in program history, going 14 of 25 for 242 yards and a score. Gales coach Matt Dillon said he was proud of his team's effort.
To give my guys credit, we played tremendously hard. Pleased with the effort, very pleased with the intensity that we came out with.
The Fort Dodge Dodgers fell on the road to Des Moines Roosevelt 16-14. The Dodger offense with 5 turnovers in the game. Fort Dodge is now 4-2 on the season, having lost their last 2 in a row, both of those district games. But Coach Matt Miller's message for his team is there's a lot left to play for.
We're not done yet. The best thing is, here's the deal, we're a 4-2 football team. We're probably 5 plays away from being a 6-0 football team, and we've been competitive in everything we've done.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunny skies this afternoon with a high of 68. Southwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level off around 45 tonight. High of 69 tomorrow, clear skies. High of 68 Wednesday under mainly sunny skies. 65 Thursday, chance for scattered rain showers. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 70.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks closing lower ahead of a fresh round of high-level tariff negotiations between the U.S. and China that are slated to begin later this week, with the Dow falling 96 points, the Nasdaq down 26, S&P 500 down 13. And an industrial conglomerate is pulling the plug on its pension plans. General Electric is freezing pensions for 20,000 employees and offering pension buyouts to 100,000 former staffers. GE's profits have evaporated in recent years, prompting the company to slash its dividend and for its chief executive to look for ways to pare its debts. And Kroger is the latest retailer to stop the sale of e-cigarettes at its stores and fuel centers. The move comes a month after Walmart said it would halt the sale of e-cigarettes and electronic nicotine delivery products. The rise of young e-cigarette users in the States, along with a series of severe lung illnesses and some deaths tied to vaping, have triggered a backlash and heightened regulatory scrutiny. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
How can a fully stocked restroom improve your image? How can serviced fire extinguishers or a first aid cabinet make your employees more prepared? How can comfortable work apparel make your business more productive? For over 1 million customers, the answer is simple. Cintas. Cintas delivers everything you need to open your doors with confidence. Because helping keep businesses well-equipped, clean, and looking their best, that's our business. Oh, I'm ready! Get Cintas and get ready for the workday.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South in Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. John Moore has died at the age of 100. Mr. John Moore has died at the age of 100. There will be a funeral Saturday at Corpus Christi Church here in town for John Moore. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucefuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400.
When it comes to making money in animal agriculture, a dairy financial consultant says to be careful with money-saving input changes that might actually take away profit. Hello, I'm Larry Lee with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. We'll hear from Compeer Financial's business consultant Steve Bodart and discuss income over feed costs next on Managing for Profit.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I was embarrassed and a little scared.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
I thought it would just make things worse.
It was tough at first, but I did it.
It ended up taking a huge weight off my shoulders.
I feel a lot better.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked for help.
I asked for help.
I asked my teacher. I asked my aunt.
I asked my dad.
I asked my mom.
I asked the Trevor Project.
Now, I feel like I can get through this.
I know that I am brave.
You can do this.
You can do this.
You can do this.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. Trained counselors are there to help 24/7. Ask for help.
Steve Bodart with Compeer Financial says farmers might look at cutting corners to save money on feed during tough financial times, but he says that doesn't always help the bottom line.
All too often we start seeing people, and since feed is their largest expense, that's the first thing they want to look at cutting. And too often when I see 10 cents reduced on feed costs, I see 15 cents reduced on milk. So I caution producers to always evaluate the income over feed costs when we're making decisions, and make those decisions that maximize the income over feed costs. Don't take income away from your operation.
It sounds like the producers really need to pay really close attention, not only month by month, but even week to week.
I would agree with that you need to be evaluating that every time you're making a ration change, making sure as you add or take things out of the ration that it is not adversely impacting that income or feed cost. It's not only the pounds of milk and the cost of the feed, but it's also the components that you're getting in the milk and how they change as you add or subtract various ingredients from the ration.
And for dairy farms, Bodart says some producers are replacing productive cows too soon, costing them money.
Every dairy it costs to raise a heifer. On average, the cost of raising a heifer is somewhere between $1,700 and $1,900 to raise a heifer to get her to the milking string. Now that $1,700 to $1,900 has to be recovered through milk sales. So if we keep that animal in the herd only one lactation, we're trying to not only cover her costs while she's milking, but also recover her growing costs in that one lactation. If I can spread that out to 2, 3, or 4 different lactations, then I'm trying to recover that heifer growing cost. It allows me to lower our cost of production on that individual animal, lower it on the entire herd, and spread that fixed cost over more hundredweights of milk.
Which comes back to your term of the cost per life of the animal.
That is correct. Cost per life. What does it cost for the life of that animal for a rearing cost? And that's where I tend to look at what is my milk production per day of life.
Bodart also says dairy farmers lose about 5.5 pounds of milk for every 100,000 increase in the somatic cell count, prompting early replacement of the cow, costing money in both the milk check and the cost per day of life of that cow. I'm Larry Lee with Managing for Profit on Brownfield.
Have you ever wondered how the brain works? What makes us tick? Join me, Greg Woods, every Wednesday morning for all the latest news on the brain, on aging, and the science behind it all. It's The Mind Boggles, every Wednesday morning at 8:30 on AM 1400 KVFD.
Have the talk of the lifetime with the ones you love and make the difference of a lifetime.
Grandma, this card asks, what's your favorite family tradition?
Christmas would be my favorite. You know how we use the special tablecloth and all the fancy dishes?
And those cookies you always make.
Should we whip up a batch and bake some together now?
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today, it will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Message and data rates may apply.
Earning your degree from one of the top business schools in the country might sound impossible to fit into your workload. But what if there were a business degree that advanced your career skills and gave you access to world-renowned faculty, leaders, and mentors all on your schedule? One that opened doors to some of the most influential CEOs, tech companies, law firms, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. And what if you could earn that degree in as little as 16 months, 100% online? Find out more. Text DRIVE to 79645. Start on the path to earning your MBA or Business Analytics Master's degree online from the W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University today. Learn more about the graduate programs from the top-ranked W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University, offered 100% online. Text DRIVE to 79645. That's DRIVE to 79645.
If you don't listen to him, you suck.
He's sneaky, but he's right.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. You suck if you don't listen to this radio program. So not sucking today is Dr. Dean Stanzel of Southern Methodist University. He's an economist. How are you, Dean?
I'm doing great. How are you, Michael?
Outstanding, outstanding. Dr. Stanzel has been with us a number of years. Dr. Stanzel is a libertarian, and he is with the O'Neill Center. The O'Neill Center at Southern Methodist University. Would you explain the O'Neill Center, please?
Oh, sure. So the O'Neill Center is a research center in the business school, the Cox Business School at SMU in Dallas, and it was set up by one of our alums, William O'Neill, and he's the founder of Investors Business Daily newspaper. We focus on studying the impact of competitive market forces on freedom and prosperity in the global economy, and our website is o'neillcenter.org, O-N-E-I-L.
You know, if you were listening in the last half hour when I was talking with Fort Dodge City Manager David Furyk, you heard me say jokingly that it's kind of my job to spread terror and fear. So Dr. Stanzel is getting me figured out here, I see, because he has sent me a piece from Reason magazine, which, by the way, is on my Facebook page, that tells us Chicago has impounded a grandmother's car for a pot offense she did not commit. She now owes $6,000 for an offense that she didn't commit. And what are we doing here? What is it? What kind of nonsense is this?
Yeah, I mean, it's all too common. Unfortunately, that one case is exceptional and highlight worthy because it's a grandmother, after all, who's not, in this case, a pot smoker. She, in fact, was down in Houston, down here in Texas, getting treated for cancer. and she lent her car to her granddaughter, who lent it to her boyfriend.
Oh,
who
no.
is the one who had some marijuana and got pulled over, and you know, the rest just it all started this cycle of bad outcomes. But she's the owner, since the grandmother owns the car, she's the one that the fines were accrued to, was $6,000 in fines, and the car was impounded, and by the time she got back to town, they had already sold the car.
They'd already sold the car.
Yeah, so I guess they had kept it a certain period of time, and they went ahead and sold it. So yeah, it's another indication of the violation of our private property rights, which you think in America we can count on being pretty secure, but it varies from place to place. Chicago is apparently one of those places where your property rights aren't necessarily all that secure.
Well, here in Iowa, we had those seizure laws for quite some time. If a car was pulled over and there was several $1,000s in the car, the law enforcement officer was able to say to himself, apparently, or herself, that based on my experience as a law enforcement officer, you are a drug dealer and these are the proceeds of an illegal drug operation, even though the person that they were stopping on analysis had no criminal record whatsoever and there was no drugs in the car, which was kind of a hustle because local police departments and sheriff's offices got to keep some of the money, if not all of the money. It was it was an absolute terror. It was theft committed by people who were wearing the uniforms of law enforcement officers. It was shocking.
Yeah, no, it's a tactic that is abused across the country, and the asset forfeiture policy is bad for people mostly, and you know if they find large quantities of cash in your car or on your person, they just assume that you're doing something illegal, which I mean, I guess people don't carry cash as much as they used to, so maybe there's some truth there, but the point is, you're innocent until proven guilty, and they just seize the money, and you've got to sue to get it back.
Oh, and it could cost you thousands of dollars to get your own money back. Here in Iowa, a lot of people became upset. A local sheriff's office here in Iowa had there was a picture of a couple of sheriff's deputies holding big handfuls of cash and sitting at a table where there was a lot more cash with these big grins on their faces, like, look what we did. And it was an asset forfeiture for, again, a person with no criminal record, no drugs found in the vehicle at all. But they, at the time, kept his money.
Sure, yeah.
And it took him months. Took him months to get it back. He never did get it all back.
Right, yeah, and if we had sensible drug policy, most of that would go away. But ultimately, the incentives are just all set up wrong in the sense that these police departments can use the money to increase their budget and buy new equipment and things that maybe they feel like they need, and the local government's not providing. And so that they have a strong incentive to when in doubt, go ahead and seize the money and make them pay to get it back.
Yeah, the foolish drug laws are certainly a factor here. I mean, as a libertarian, I know you want to keep the authorities off our neurological pleasure buttons, as Timothy O'Leary once said, but they are completely insane. Soon, we'll be able to cross the Mississippi River into Illinois and buy all the marijuana we want, but it's still a crime here in Iowa. Obviously, what is happening is that the federal government is waiting for the states to get to a tipping point so they can legalize recreational marijuana, and most importantly, marijuana business people can then get in on the action and make some money in the marijuana business, which I don't think, I mean, it's not heroin or cocaine, for God's sake, and I have just never, and I talked to some of our state representatives right now today about this silliness, because really Nebraska and Minnesota may legalize marijuana soon.
Right, yeah, and there's a growing number that have done it, so as we increasingly see that it's not the end of the world to legalize this substance and allow people to use it without having to go through black market channels, that things don't go bad, things go okay, and maybe even better than they were beforehand. So yeah, I think eventually we'll all figure it out, and even Texas maybe will legalize it someday.
I was going to say, are they still executing people down in Texas for marijuana possession, or they were really hard on people down there?
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny that. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's not real social freedom friendly here per se.
Well, we still have the Bubba laws in Texas, don't we? I used to love the Bubba laws that allowed a mythological Texas character by the name of Bubba, who believed it was his God-given right to fly across Texas in his pickup truck, shooting guns out the window while drunk.
Wow. I think that was before I got here. I hadn't heard about that one.
You're not familiar with that one?
No, I haven't heard of that one. That was dangerous.
All right, okay. Dr. Dean Stanzel is our guest, and Dr. Stanzel is from Florida. Some of you may remember he was at Florida Gulf Coast University. And Miami's your hometown, right?
I was born in Miami, yeah.
Oh, born in Miami. Well, Florida Gulf Coast is in Fort Myers. But anyway, I bring this up because he sent me another Reason article, and I have all these on my Facebook page, that a Florida retiree's uncut lawn may cost him his house. Mr. Jim Ficken was fined $29,000 for a violation of his town's tall grass ordinance. What? Yeah.
Reason has been great this week. There were lots of things that were really interesting to me, and this is a similar story where basically local government is abusing their residents. This guy was left town to attend to his dying mother, right? So another health situation, and he left a handyman in charge of his property. That handyman died while he was gone, and so there was I guess he didn't find out, and there was no one to mow his grass. And they have a pretty strict rule in this town where he lived in Eden, and eventually the total damage, I think it's about $250 a day, but they doubled it because he's a repeat violator. It ended up with $29,000 worth of damage, which he's a retired guy on a fixed income. He doesn't have it, and so they're trying to take his house.
I'm not here to put down your home state at all, but that's a little extreme. Does that happen a lot in Florida, or?
I don't think so. I mean, it's a pretty outrageous story. I mean, I think it's one of these kind of overzealous zoning situations where the local government found a way to try to bring in some extra revenue, and he's the victim of that policy.
Well, the government's always looking for a revenue stream. It's not like they're real good at making money on their own. They get money from taxes and fines and these silly things. But to take a man's house like this under these circumstances seems to be ludicrous.
Yeah, they're out of control. It says here that their take from code enforcement fines increased nearly 20-fold from 2007 to 2017. From $34,000 a year to $700,000 a year. He's not the only victim here.
I guess he isn't. This is AM 1400. Yeah, call home there, Dean. See what's going on here. You got folks back home, don't you? Anyway, Elizabeth Warren. Now she's driving libertarians like Dr. Stanzel insane. Elizabeth Warren's labor plan would be terrible for workers. I was unaware until today that she had a labor plan. But what about this bothers you?
I saw another thing today I didn't send you that maybe we can talk about next week. She also has a Social Security plan now too, which is full of a lot of bad stuff. So what she's doing here with her labor plan, which is full of a bunch of stuff. But the big headline item beyond just the minimum wage increase is essentially taking what California recently did. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. They passed something called AB 5, which essentially is forcing Uber and other types of the so-called gig economy to reclassify their what do they call them, contract employees as regular employees. Anyway, they're independent contractors as regular employees. Get it straight. And so she wants to take that national, basically impose that everywhere, so that everyone has to follow the same policy that California's put in place.
Well, do you think as an economist that any of Elizabeth Warren's plans can work?
I mean, she's got so many of them. Maybe I can't say definitively all of them are bad, but I'd be inclined to put a little money on them all being bad. But this thing with the independent contractors, there was a link in here to some polling data where they did a poll of survey of Uber drivers, And basically, the gist of it is that most of these drivers are doing this as an extra source of income. Most of them do it less than 10 hours a week. They do it for the flexibility. So what she's trying to basically impose her values on them essentially assumes that they want to be a full-time employee, which would take away their flexibility. It would make them more likely to have to be under someone else's schedule instead of on their own schedule. So it's the nanny state, right? Essentially saying, we know better what's good for you, so we're going to make you do what's good for you, whether you like it or not.
We're going to make you a good person through legislation.
There you go.
God, those people, I'll tell you. They wonder why Trump is here. They're so annoying. Dr. Dean Stanzel's our guest. We have, in Worcester, Massachusetts, plans for a $100 million minor league ballpark.
Oh, this is a great story.
I love it. Yeah.
I mean, that in and of itself is enough of a story. Now 30,000 of that is to redevelop the local area around the stadium with a city-owned hotel and some other basic things. It's $70 million for the stadium itself, but it's taxpayer dollars, and that's huge for a minor league stadium.
God, I guess.
But the land they're building it on, it isn't just land that just was sitting there. This is land that they had to take by eminent domain because it had an auto glass repair shop and a cannabis oil retailer. And those business owners were offered about $300,000 each, and they turned it down. They didn't want to move. They felt like they were in a good location, they were profitable, and so the city moved forward with eminent domain and took the land and gave them the amount they refused. But
what was the reason what reason really was it to take their property through eminent domain? I remember reading Little Pink House a number of years ago.
Yes.
About a giant ripoff in Connecticut that just went sour for everybody.
Right.
But the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that if a city wanted to raise taxes, they could take land by eminent domain. If it could be proved that raising taxes somewhere could...
the issue was if this project would increase revenue.
Right, that's
right.
exactly
How the Supreme Court case was about the Little Pink House story, the Kelo versus New Connecticut. And that's exactly the rationale they're using here, is that, well, if we redevelop this area, then allegedly, and you can't really prove it one way or the other until after the property's torn down and the new stuff is built, but the allegation is that, well, we'll bring in more revenue. So that in and of itself is legally, at least, justification enough to take people's property without their consent.
See, the whole thing was such a sordid story. A pharmaceutical company was financing it. They had a lot of Viagra cash. By the way, this neighborhood had been there for a long time, and the state of Connecticut wanted to take it and build a casino on it. And I'll just be very brief. The entire project fell apart. The governor who was pushing the plan went to jail, not because of pushing for this, but for something else. And as of the last I heard, they kicked everybody out of the neighborhood and bulldozed their houses, but they never built the casino. So this nice neighborhood where people were paying taxes and lived and raised their children is just brown space now.
Right. Oh, it's even worse. And I thought it was a research facility, but maybe it contained a casino too. But regardless, they ended up, after that big storm maybe 5 years ago, they used it as a temporary holding place for storm damage. It was basically a dump.
God.
Terrible. It's not funny, I guess. But
it's not fair.
Funny and how sad it is, yeah.
It really is. Dr. Dean Stanzel has been our guest. He is with the O'Neill Center at Southern Methodist University. And we look forward to talking with Dr. Dean Stanzel every Monday at this time. Dean, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
It's coming.
Flu season will be here before you know it. Don't let the flu get to you. Go to Daniel Pharmacy now for your flu and pneumonia shots. If you need a prescription filled, remember, Daniel Pharmacy offers you medication services, including medication adherence and synchronization, immunizations, and private consultation. Daniel Pharmacy carries durable medical equipment, including lift chairs, scooters, walkers, and more. Daniel Pharmacy on the corner of 12th and Central Avenue, Fort Dodge. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. It's time to go down to Main Street here in Fort Dodge, Central Avenue, of course, and plays Samuel Z. Arkoff, one of the famous people that Fort Dodge has produced. It'll be my great pleasure to do that. So I hope to see you downtown in the block where Ryman Music is, between 5:30 and 7:30. Look forward to it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to my guests, Ann Meyer, Pastor Austin Hill, Dr. Dean Stansel, and City Manager David Fury. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
If you're a gearhead or not, you'll enjoy the Under the Hood Car Show every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD.
It's time for them to come home. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. That from President Trump again this afternoon as he doubles down on his decision to pull U.S. forces out of Syria.
We want to bring our troops back home. And I got elected on that. If you go back and look at our speeches, I would say we want to bring our troops back home from these endless wars.
The president saying we are just policing the area and there has to be an end game. There has been some pushback against the president's decision, but at least one Republican supports it. Fox's Jared Halpern live on Capitol Hill.
Republicans in Congress are signaling uncharacteristically strong opposition to President Trump's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from Syria, a move that's believed to put Kurdish fighters who partnered with the U.S. to defeat ISIS in danger from Turkish attacks. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says a precipitous withdrawal only benefits Russia, Iran, and the Assad regime. House Republican Conference Chair Liz Cheney says the withdrawal is a catastrophic mistake. Top Democrats are opposed as well. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the withdrawal betrays Kurdish allies. Lisa.
Jared, police in Kansas with an update on a weekend shooting at a bar that left 4 people dead. Fox's Gernal Scott has this live.
Lisa, one of the 2 shooters who walked into the Tequila KC bar early Sunday, still on the loose.
I would consider him armed and dangerous.
And that was how Police Chief Michael York described Hugo Villanueva Morales. Javier Alatorre, the other suspect, is in custody. Both men face 4 murder counts. Mayor David Alvey says the shooting was not random,
but apparently related to one of the suspects having been kicked out of the bar just a few hours prior to the shooting.
5 others were shot, some of them still in the hospital. Federal agents are helping in the search, Lisa.
Gernal, the Dow lost 95, the NASDAQ lost 26, the S&P fell 13. America's listening to Fox News.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Chief Engineer.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The primary election for the Fort Dodge City Council will be tomorrow. The primary is for the at-large council seat. Nevin Conrad is the incumbent and faces challengers Melvin Newsom and Jim Underwood. The top two vote getters of the three candidates will advance to the November 5th general election. The at-large council seat is a 4-year term. The polls open tomorrow at 7 a.m. and will remain open until 8 p.m. There are changes in two of the polling locations this year. Those that used to vote at Philhaver Elementary School will now vote at First Congregational United Church of Christ at 1611 Williams Drive. Those that used to vote at Trinity United Methodist Church will now vote at Duncombe Elementary School at 1620 6th Avenue North. The 38th Annual Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Chili Cook-Off will be this Sunday, October 13th, at the Fort Museum and Frontier Village here in Fort Dodge. The event will begin that morning at 7 a.m. when the contestants select their spot and set up. The public tasting portion of the event will begin at 1 p.m. There will be an award ceremony at 4 p.m., with first, second, and third place trophies awarded, along with the People's Choice Award and the Wayne Goodenough Award for Best Showmanship. Those interested in entering the Chili Cook-Off can find the entry form on the Fort Dodge Chili Lovers Society Facebook page or by calling 515-570-6162. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell in their homecoming game Saturday, 43-27 to 12th-ranked Garden City, Kansas. For the Tritons, it was their first home loss in the last 6. The Tritons now are 3-4 on the season. In high school football from Friday night, St. Edmund fell to Sioux Central 37-18. Gales quarterback Drew Schaefer would have the second-best passing game in program history, going 14 of 25 for 242 yards and a score. Gales coach Matt Dillon said he was proud of his team's effort.
To give my guys credit, we played tremendously hard. Pleased with the effort, very pleased with the intensity that we came out with.
The Fort Dodge Dodgers fell on the road to Des Moines Roosevelt 16-14. The Dodger offense with 5 turnovers in the game. Fort Dodge is now 4-2 on the season, having lost their last 2 in a row, both of those district games. But Coach Matt Miller's message for his team is there's a lot left to play for.
We're not done yet. The best thing is, here's the deal, we're a 4-2 football team. We're probably 5 plays away from being a 6-0 football team.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. Thank you for joining us. Open phones at 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Starting this hour off is going to be Will in New Hampshire. Hey, Will, welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Yeah, hello. How you doing, Dave? Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, sir. How can I help?
Yeah, I called like 2.5 weeks ago, and I was the guy with over $500,000 in debt. Well, you gave me the financial piece for free for a whole year, which I thank you for that. I already attended to my first class this weekend, so I actually have 2 questions. I give you the first one and the second one together because I know the first one will be quicker for you to answer. The first one is, do you happen to have financial piece in Spanish by any chance, or this material in Spanish? Because I can see myself in the future actually teaching these classes in Spanish. And the second question that I'm calling today is, we already covered baby step 1, and basically is saving $1,000 for emergency fund.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to that is, I got about $8,000 cash money. If I were to take $7,000 out of that and pay it to roll my debt, that will only leave me with $1,000. My scary part is not to have money. I know when you have a lot of money, you feel secure. Right now I have $8,000 and I'm secure, but I have a lot of debt. So if I get rid of $7,000, I just stay at $1,000. It's like I'm nervous.
Understand. First question first. Yes, we have the materials in Spanish. They're taught by a gentleman named Andres Gutierrez, and you can look up Andres. He does a talk radio show out of San Antonio. He does this show in Spanish, as a matter of fact, or his version of this show. He's a great, great young man. Used to be on our team for years, and we blessed him and gave him all of the Spanish materials and all the Spanish everything. All of our books are also in Spanish. But you can contact our team here. We sell Financial Peace University in Spanish, and so does Andres. It's taught by him, by the way. He's the guy on the stage. It won't be me because hillbilly Spanish just doesn't work. So
yep, I see.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a huge need in every group of people in America, and Hispanics are no exception. And
especially us, when we spend a lot of money there. Believe me, Spanish people, and I consider it.
Spending a lot of money is not a Hispanic disease. It's a human disease, but we all humans are doing it. So yeah. Now, did you? I forget. I mean, I talked to a couple. I've slept since I talked to you, so I forget everything. You had $500,000 in debt, but was that two houses?
Yes, sir. You told me to sell
one of them. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. It was like was it 271 or something?
Yep. You're correct. That's what it was. 270. So I'm gonna probably get somewhere around 70,000 out of the whole deal.
I can't remember my dog's name, but I remember your numbers from 2 weeks ago. Okay, that's just ridiculous. All right, so and how much was owed on your house, your personal residence?
Right now we owe about